watching Diva Tomboys live. You're 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 watching Diva Tomboys live.
All right. Hey to everybody who's gonna be listening today, tomorrow, or in 6 months, or in a year. Anywho, so we spent the morning doing the listening to the prosecution side as they delivered as to their putting their statements out there to begin to start the trial. Around this time, I am now sipping wine. So please excuse me if I'm a little not jittery. I would say giggly, for better words. All right, so we're going to get into Marcia Clark from the prosecution. All right, and a moment. If you want to catch up to what we're looking at here, or go past, if you're interested, the YouTube channel is OJ Trial Uncut. So we're going in Uta. Now, all of these I've already, both of my channels are sub to the OJ Simpson Trial Uncut. So all of these preliminary hearings, that's Cato, to determine whether or not it was going to go to trial. Might have already been there, done that. Okay, done that. So now we're in January the 24th, 1995. We already went through part one together, even though it's not shown. Well, you already know how it works. But so now we're going to dip into, we're still on January the 24th. All right. And as you can see, it's kind of long there. Hopefully it'll be interesting enough for me to, keep going past an hour. But like I told you guys, I'm only doing 1 hour. But if it gets interesting, then I will keep on going. All right. Okay. So if you want to catch up to where we are now, in the playlist available to you is all the episodes I have done previously, and so you'll be able to catch up if you are interested in reviewing the OJ Simpson trial. 30 years later, you're 30 more years mature, so you get to hear all the evidence that was received. And I would really like to hold on, y'all. My cat want to go out. Wait, hold on for a second. All right, so sorry about that. Please excuse me. So I want to see if we're going to have the same feeling, because right now we see it like, flash maybe across our screens as a reminder, or we might see it on our timelines and we say, oh, we remember the OJ Simpson trial, and stuff like that. So now, 30 years later, I would like to see how you guys feel about it presently. Okay. All right. So earlier today, we heard the prosecution side. We're going to hear the prosecution aside now. All right. We heard from Christopher Darden. And so now we're going to dip into Marcia Clark. We also heard that Christopher Darden, the way how he was going was that, basically painting OJ to be the controlling, manipulative, um, asshole, that was abusive to Nicole. So that's the angle that he's going. Usually, when it's high profile cases, you already know that the rich are going to have multiple attorneys for multiple different things. They might have different outlooks. So, hey, this attorney might stick to that particular subject at hand. And then you might have another attorney that's dealing with something else, especially when it's like a double murder or something like that. You're going to have that. So, of course, when it comes to OJ Simpson at this time, in the year that this had happened, he was at his prime. Okay. We already discovered that as well. If you were young like me, you probably didn't know that. But now that we know, of course, he's super rich. So the state of California had to match him on that. All right. So let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We've all seen him for quite a while, but haven't seen Mr. Darden. He was busy with other matters, and he is an integral member of our team. Let me introduce some of the other lawyers you haven't met yet, but you will be seeing through the course of this trial. Mr. Hank Goldberg, Mr. William Clark, and Mr. Rodney Harmon. They will all be presenting the scientific evidence in this case that relates to the blood analysis and DNA testing. When you hear the amount of evidence that we have, you'll need the help, and I thank them very much for their able assistance thus far. Of course, you know Mr. Hodgman. He's still here. You've now heard the why. You've heard why. Why would Orenthal James Simpson, a man who seemingly had it all, commit such heinous crimes? Throw it all away. The one simple truth about the evidence described to you by Mr. Darden is that it shows that Mr. Simpson is a man, not a stereotype, but flesh and blood, who can do both good and evil. Being wealthy, being famous cannot change one simple truth. He's a person, and people have good sides and bad sides. Whether you see both sides or not, both sides are always there. Now, we will show you the other side of the smiling face you saw in the Hertz commercial, the one you never saw on camera, the one none of us ever wanted to see. And that was the side that went from Rockingham at his estate to Nicole's home at 875 South Bundy on the night of June the 12th, 1994. Now, on that night, many events were happening at the same time. And in order to give you a true picture, the most clear and accurate picture of what really happened, how the events occurred, I'm going to go back and forth between the parties and between the locations. So what I want to do, first of all, is describe the setting for you. As of June the 12th, 1994, Nicole was living at 875 South Bundy in Brentwood. That's a condominium. It was a duplex. And so it's one building. She had one side, had a common wall, and her neighbors had another side. She lived there with her two children, Justin and Sydney. The defendant was living at 360 Rockingham Avenue in Brentwood. Brian Kalin, known as Cato, some of you already are familiar with the name, was living in one of the guest units behind the defendant's home on Rockingham Avenue. The defendant's daughter, Arnell, lived next to Cato in another one of the guest units. I'll show you a diagram a little bit later to get you more familiar with the location, but the guest units are behind and apart from the main house, and they share common walls. It's kind of like one long building. So Cato had one, and then Arnell had the next one. Now, the background on Cato, and the evidence will show you, is the following. Cato met Nicole in 1992 after she had left the defendant at a party in Aspen. They remained friendly after that point, not romantically, platonic, just friends. And he went to a party that she gave in Gretna Green in 1993. He noticed that that house had a guest unit behind it that was a separate living quarters, and he asked Nicole if he could rent that location. She said yes. She rented it to him for $450 to $500 a month, and he was allowed to reduce that amount if he did babysitting for her. He was very good with the children, so that was an arrangement that worked well for everyone. However, Nicole decided to move out of Gretna Green in 1994, and she found the residence on Bundy that I've described to you. Now, the Bundy residence did have separate quarters with its own entrance and exit, but it was all under one roof. It didn't have a separate living quarter like the other house did on Gretna Green. The defendant asked Cato not to stay there, not to live under the same roof as Nicole, saying it wouldn't be appropriate. And he asked Cato to come stay in one of the guest units at his house on Rockingham. He told Cato he could stay there for free. Cato obviously saw a much better financial situation for himself and agreed. And so in January of 1994, Cato moved to the guest unit behind the defendant's house on Rockingham. And Nicole moved to 875 South Bundy. Let me show you a board now of the Rockingham location.
Oh, sure.
Look, that's a seat.
Yes, I know, just so that which ones.
This one.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Thank you, Counsel.
So we can tell which one it is.
Should I mark it down?
Let's just,
Or I just describe it? 360 North Rockingham Avenue.
Excuse me, viewers, all of you who will listen later, pass through now, red ball, listening now. My pronunciation is just trash. And so I just got, informed that the pronunciation of her name is Marcia, which I thought Marcia is spelled Marsha, but instead her name is Marcia. Marcia. So if I remember to call her Marcia, then I will call her Marcia. I have a speech impediment. I don't have time to be up here fumbling over words. If it come out Marcia, that's easy for people. And if you know a person with a speech impediment or have one yourself, Marcia or Marcia sounds better. Now, I didn't it's nothing, no, I'm not racist. Well, sometimes. So Marcia, all usually ends with a Gonzalez. You could just unsubscribe. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist. So probably I forgot the C, and so I corrected it. Okay. So we're going to listen to Marcia Clark, and later she'll probably be Marcia Clark. It depends on the mood of my tongue because I have a speech impediment. Gracias.
This is an overall diagram of the defendant's home on Rockingham Avenue in Brentwood. This location here, this area here, is the main house. These rooms that are shown down here are the guest units. Now the guest units close off. They are locked off with a door so that you can't enter from the guest unit into the main house. You see the area here, it's marked Kalen's room. I don't know if you can all read it, that's why I'm pointing to it for you. That is Cato's guest unit. Right next to his unit is a...
Clark, could you allow Mr. Jackman to step over to your right so that he can see what you're pointing at?
This is, thank you, Ron. This is an office that Cato had access to. And this would be Arnell's room, right next to Cato's. Now, the Rockingham address also had a gate that opened onto Ashford Street on the north and a gate that opened onto Rockingham on the west side. I'll get into more detail about it a little bit later. Now, before I really get into the events of the night of June the 12th and into all the details, there are a few key points that I want to bring out to you right now. I'll come back to them again, but I want you to bear them in mind. This has to do with the timing of the events that happened that night. You're going to hear a lot of talking about that throughout this trial. I think I can guarantee that. With respect to the timing, the evidence will show that on the night of June the 12th, 1994, the defendant had an hour and 10 minutes of time in which his whereabouts are unaccounted for. And we will show that it was during that hour and 10 minutes that the murders were committed. And so the evidence will prove that Cato last saw the defendant on the night of June the 12th at 9:35 at the latest. He did not see the defendant again until after 11 o'clock. In between those two times, at 10:15, a dog is heard barking that the evidence will show was Nicole's dog, which fixes the time at which the murder occurred. At 10:45, Cato heard thumps on his wall. And shortly after 11, he saw the defendant. An hour and 10 minutes during which the murders occurred, in which the defendant's whereabouts are unaccounted for. I'll come back to that point. Now, on the night of June the 12th, as Mr. Darden has already described to you, that was the recital for Sydney. It was a dance recital for her school. On the morning of June the 12th, the defendant played golf, played cards, and he was scheduled to go to the recital at 5 p.m. on the evening of June the 12th. Mr. Darden described to you how the defendant behaved that night. He was in an ugly mood, morose, depressed, and clearly fixated on his ex-wife, Nicole Brown. He returned home after the recital and he spoke to Cato. It was approximately 6:30 to 7 p.m. He returned home to his home on Rockingham. Now, at about that same time, 6:30 to 7 p.m., Nicole was arriving at the Mezzaluna with her party. That was all of her family and Sydney and Justin. Now back at Rockingham, Mr. Simpson spoke to Cato. He discussed a little bit the recital, what he wanted to tell him about it, and he mentioned to him that Nicole was wearing a tight dress, and he wondered how she'd look in that tight dress when she got to be older. During the course of that day, he also told Cato that he and Nicole were through. Important to remember that the defendant would make statements sounding like he was cavalier about it, but the truth that we learned from the inside is that he was not at all cavalier about losing Nicole. Now, while the defendant is talking to Cato on Rockingham, Nicole and her party arrived at the Mezzaluna for dinner to celebrate Sydney's recital. Ron Goldman was a waiter at the Mezzaluna. He didn't wait on her table that night, but he was working there that night. Nicole was wearing a black halter dress and a black blazer. She left the restaurant with her family at approximately 8:30 p.m. Now, between 8:30 and 9 p.m., Cato was back in his room, and the defendant came out to his room to ask him for some change. The defendant was set to take a flight out that night to Chicago, an 11:45 red-eye. He indicated to Cato that he only had $100 bills.
Okay, guys, I just wanted to stop it right there. If you can see, that is the parents of Ronald Goldman. Okay. The mother and the father. They are both alive and well. All right. Later on, the mother took OJ to court. We're going to get to all of that, later on, because we're going to walk through every single portion of the trial. But I just want to let you guys know who's who inside of the courtroom while we're listening here.
He needed smaller change for the sky cap. He asked Cato if he had that smaller change, and Cato said he did. He then told Cato that he was going to go out and get something to eat. Cato asked if he could come along. The defendant said, okay. They then left, and they went out to the driveway. The defendant drove to McDonald's in his black Bentley. They got some burgers, and as he drove back, the defendant ate his food while he was driving. Cato did not. They got back to 360 Rockingham, and the defendant parked his Bentley in the driveway in the same position in which it was found by the police in the early morning hours of June 13th. When Cato got out of the car, it was 9:30 to 9:35 at the latest. And when he got out of the car, we last saw the defendant standing near the Bentley. Cato walked through the driveway, through the side yard, and back to his room. As soon as he got back to his room, he made a call to his friend in San Diego at 9:37. So we know that the defendant got home between 9:30 to 9:35 at the very latest, based on the timing of the phone call that Cato placed to his friend in San Diego. When Cato left the defendant standing at the Bentley at 9:35, he did not see the defendant again until after 11 p.m. Now, what I'm about to describe to you is a series of events that proves that the murders occurred between 9:35 and 10:45 on the night of June the 12th, and that during that time, the defendant's whereabouts are unaccounted for. At 9:37, Juditha Brown, that is Nicole's mother, called the Mezzaluna to see if they had found her prescription glasses that she thought she had left there at dinner that night. Karen Crawford, the bar manager for Mezzaluna, took that call and then went to look for the glasses. She found them out in the gutter near where the family had gotten out of their car to come into the restaurant. She brought them back into the restaurant, told Juditha that she had found them. Juditha asked her to keep the glasses there. So Ms. Crawford put them into an envelope marked Nicole Simpson prescription glasses. We'll show you photographs of that envelope today. Now, Juditha called Nicole at 9:40 p.m. and told her that the glasses had been found and were being kept at the Mezzaluna at 9:40 p.m. And that was the last time Juditha ever spoke to her daughter, Nicole. A few minutes later, Ms. Crawford received a call from Nicole, and they spoke. Ms. Crawford then called Ron Goldman over to the phone. Ron Goldman spoke to Nicole for a few minutes, and when he was done and he hung up, Ms. Crawford gave him the glasses, and he took the envelope containing those glasses. Shortly thereafter, at approximately 9:50 p.m., Ron Goldman left the restaurant, still dressed in his waiter's uniform, the white dress shirt, the black pants, and the black shoes. And his friends at the restaurant never again saw him alive.
Which graphic is this?
This is a view of the alley.
All right, what item, what exhibit number?
I'm sorry.
What exhibit number, just for the record, so we can demonstrate?
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 1. At approximately 10:15 p.m., Pablo Fenves, who lived diagonally across the alley behind Nicole's condominium, heard a dog begin to bark. The area you see here in the photograph, and I'm trying to designate it with the red light, this is alley behind her house, behind Nicole's house at 875 South Bundy. This Jeep that you see here is her Jeep. Pablo Fenves, whom I've just described, lived in the area where you see the police car. The lights that you see here on the balcony indicate where Nicole lived. That's her condominium. This is a rear view, again, of Nicole's, the rear of Nicole's condominium. That's her Jeep. That's her garage that I'm indicating. And this is the balcony area I've indicated before, and there's the upstairs area. This is P2. This garage and these living quarters here belong to another family. As I indicated before, it's a duplex. So at 10:15, Pablo Fenves heard a dog bark. He remembered it clearly because the bark was like a plaintive, insistent wail. It was like nothing he'd ever heard before. Although he'd heard dogs barking in the neighborhood often, other dogs lived in that neighborhood. This was different. This bark sounded to him like a dog in trouble. At 11 p.m., when Pablo Fenves went to bed, the dog was still barking. He went over to his bedroom shutters and opened them to look out in the direction that the barking seemed to be coming from. And he looked in the direction of Nicole's condominium, which is the direction it seemed to be coming from. And he noticed that there were lights on in the upper floor of her condo. When he fell asleep, shortly after 11 o'clock, the dog was still barking. The evidence will show that this dog, wailing and barking so insistently, was Nicole's white Akita, Cato. Another neighbor, Steve Schwab, left to take his dog for a walk at approximately 10:30. At about 10:55, when he got to the corner of Dorothy and Bundy, which is right on the corner of Nicole's, where Nicole lived, maybe one house down, he saw Cato the dog walking alone. The dog was acting very agitated, seemed to be barking at the house on the corner of Dorothy and Bundy. He couldn't tell which one. And he noticed that the dog had an expensive collar. When he checked it further, looking for tags, he noticed that there was blood on the paws and on the legs of the dog. Although at that time he saw no injury, he assumed there must have been a cut on the paw to cause all that blood. As he continued to walk, the dog began to follow him, but it behaved in a very strange manner, because at the walkway to every house that they passed, the dog would stop and bark insistently. When Steve got home at approximately 11:05, he and his wife discussed what to do with this dog. They sat outside, gave it some water because it seemed very dehydrated, and decided to try and get it to lead them to its owner's home. So they took it out and they started to walk back, but as they neared Bundy, the dog resisted. The dog pulled back, and they couldn't get it to go any farther. So they took the dog back to the courtyard of their apartment building. Now, in that courtyard, there was more light, and they were able to see more clearly that there was no injury on the dog, but that its paws and its legs were clearly bloody. Now, Steve Schwab later gave that dog to another neighbor in his apartment building, Sukru Bostepi. You'll see them testify in this courtroom. And Sukru Bostepi agreed to take care of the dog for the night. But again, the dog was acting very agitated with Sukru Bostepi. He tried to take him inside the apartment, and he was sniffing and scratching and trying to get out. So he tried to do the same thing that Steve did. And he took the dog out for a walk, hoping it would lead him back to the owner's home. As they went south on Bundy, the dog started pulling harder and harder until they got to the location of 875 South Bundy. And there at the...
Okay, so where I'm confused is dogs are walked, and usually, when the dogs are walked in the neighborhood, you can identify who dogs are, belongs to who, especially having an expensive collar on. I'm not quite understanding this that's being presented on some real shit. How do you not know what, who that dog belongs to? Is that's your first time actually seeing the dog? So my understanding that the dog was, roaming through the neighborhood. Correct? So what is going on here? I'm not understanding what's happening. Maybe I'm tripping, but this was all still in the neighborhood. So I'm not understanding this. Maybe it'll surface soon.
pathway leading up to that home, the dog stopped. And the dog looked up the pathway. And that made Sukru look up the pathway. And there he saw a sight that he'll never forget. He saw the body of Nicole Brown lying at the foot of the steps in a pool of blood. Now I'm going to backtrack for a moment and talk about Rockingham. I last mentioned Cato at 9:37. He was on the phone to his friend in San Diego. He was on that phone for 7 minutes. That call ended at 9:44, at which point, after trying to use a typewriter in that office I showed you before, which is right next to his guest unit. This be the room right here. He called his friend Rachel Ferreira.
Once you finish your thoughts, Clark.
It goes into, it's kind of better to break here if that's all right with the court.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the lunch hour. Ms. Clark, could you take the poster down, please? Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the lunch hour. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, talk to anybody about the case, or allow anybody to talk to you about it. And we will see you back here at 1:30. All right, have a nice lunch. All right. All right, good afternoon, council. Is there anything we need to address before we invite the jurors to rejoin us? Mr. Cochran?
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. I'll be very brief. This morning, Your Honor, I have received several calls regarding the witness, Rosa Lopez. And at noon, I spoke with her personally. She indicates she's being besieged by individuals who are trying to either interview her. The press is outside of her house. She can't get out of her driveway or her, where she works. She's very, very afraid that in these harsh economic times that she may lose her job. Her lawyer, Carl Jones, has written a letter asking that should the people want to interview her, he'll arrange it and not to try to come on her job. She is works as a housekeeper. And I don't know what the court can do about the press, but she was really exasperated when I
Guys, wait. So I do
appeal.
apologize, but I have to make sure I'm listening because I'm more educating myself as well. And Vibrance is talking me. Guys, I'm going to make sure before, before I go to sleep, my last post, I'm going to show you a picture of my face when as Vibrant loves to talk. But you would think that Vibrant doesn't like to talk, but Vibrant loves to talk, especially like if you get Vibrant. She is such a fucking nerd like me. But anywho, so Johnny Cochran is at the podium and he's speaking about somebody who is currently being harassed by the paparazzi or the media. So let me go ahead and play that again. Meanwhile, I'm going to focus. Hey, big bro. All right.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. I'll be very brief. This morning, Your Honor, I have received several calls regarding the witness, Rosa Lopez. And at noon, I spoke with her personally. She indicates she's being besieged by individuals who are trying to either interview her. The press is outside of her house. She can't get out of her driveway or her, where she works. She's very, very afraid that in these harsh economic times that she may lose her job. Her lawyer, Carl Jones, has written a letter asking that should the people want to interview her, he'll arrange it and not to try to come on her job. She is works as a housekeeper. And I don't know what the court can do about the press, but she was really exasperated when I talked to her. And perhaps the court can appeal to the good side and the press and ask them if they would give her some privacy. She's very, very concerned about herself and her family. She feels it's unfair. I thought I should bring this to Your Honor's court because I got a call here and several calls here in court.
All right. Mr. Darden, you have some response or comment on that?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. And I appreciate Mr. Cochran's comments. I would just like to indicate that we haven't been part of the harassment. We haven't attempted to contact Ms. Lopez, as Mr. Douglas alluded to yesterday. And I would join in Mr. Cochran's request that this witness, as other witnesses in the case, not be harassed by the media, by the public. Leave these people alone. It's not their fault that they happen to be witnesses in the case of People versus Simpson. And we will contact Mr. Jones at the proper time and before we attempt to interview Ms. Lopez.
All right.
We join, we agree on something, Your Honor, and we welcome your suggestion to the press if you have one.
I think it goes without saying. All right. Thank you, counsel. Yes.
We're busy somewhat. I can step outside for a moment.
Sure. I'm sorry? Briefly. Who are we missing?
Our technical support.
All right. Is Mr. Harris here? Mr. Harris, what's the warm-up time on the Elmo? All right, Ms. Clark, are you ready to proceed? Are we ready to proceed? All right, Deputy Magnero. All right, thank you, counsel. Be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Back on the record in the Simpson matter, Mr. Simpson is again present before the court with his counsel. People are represented, and we have all the members of our jury panel again present with us. Ms. Clark, do you wish to continue your opening statement?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I forgot to introduce a very important member of our team, and I sincerely apologize for that. Jonathan Fairlow. He's a new member of our office, and he does all of the technical work that you're seeing here. I wouldn't have a clue how to operate these things without him. I'm in serious trouble. I hope you all had a very good lunch. Let me remind you of where we left off so that we can pick up from there. We were talking about the timing, and I was discussing with you that Cato had last seen the defendant at 9:35 at Rockingham, and that an hour and 10 minutes, and that it was after 11 before he saw him again. So he saw the defendant at 9:35, did not see him again until after 11. And during that period of time, the defendant's whereabouts are unaccounted for. Now, last I spoke to you, Cato was on the phone with his girlfriend, Rachel Ferreira. At that time, at that same time that he was on the telephone, and this was approximately 10 to 10:15, Alan Park, a limousine driver, was on his way to Rockingham to pick up the defendant to take him to the airport, where he would take his flight at 11:45 to Chicago. Now, although his instructions were to arrive at Rockingham at 10:45, he hadn't been in the Brentwood area before, and he didn't want to be late. So he left early, and he arrived at Rockingham at 10:25. Now, I'm going to use the diagram again. When Alan Park pulled up on Ashford Street, he parked across the street from the defendant's residence, got out of his car, sat behind it on the curb, and had a cigarette. He got back in his car at about 10:30, sat in his car for a few minutes listening to the radio, and at 10:35, he decided that he would go and look at the Rockingham gate to see if that drive-in would be easier for him than the Ashford Street gate. What I should tell you right here is that he's and that has a very hard time making tight curves. He wanted to be able to pull up in front of the front door to an area that would be easy to load the baggage. And so he wanted to see if the Rockingham entrance would be more easy for him than the Ashford Street address. So he decided to pull down to Rockingham. He pulled the limousine down to Rockingham, all the way down to the point where the driver's side window would be parallel with the Rockingham gate, so he could look inside. Now, in doing that, he had to pass right by the curb area just north of the Rockingham gate. And what he noticed when he pulled to that area that was right in his field of view is that there was no car parked there, no white Ford Bronco, and it was 10:39. That's very important. We'll come back to that again. He looked down the driveway, and he saw that that was like a tighter turn even than Ashford. So he backed the limousine up Rockingham Avenue and made a left turn onto the Ashford Street and pulled right up to the Ashford gate. When I say he pulled right up to the Ashford gate, on this photograph you see the Ashford gate of the defendant's residence. He actually had the grill of the car almost touching the gate, facing inward toward it.
Photograph.
I thought we gave the court.
It's P 29.
All right, thank you.
Can you give him? Your Honor, so the court won't have to inquire after every photograph. We've given a list to court for each and every one with a
Well, I think you should make the record, counsel. You should tell us which this is. Because the clerk can't see, clerk has the list. She can't see directly the video. So you
Then
need to tell me which video you're using, which graphic you're using.
Very well, Your Honor. I'll ask that Jonathan Fairlow be allowed to.
Fine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, when Allen Park pulled back to the Ashford gate, parking up against it, facing into the driveway, he looked at his watch, and it was 10:40 p.m. At that point, he decided to go and ring the buzzer. I wanted to show you something else on there so you'll know what I'm talking about when I say ring the buzzer. I'm guessing with this red light, you see right here, that's the call box. Where you'd be pressing the buzzer. And it rings inside the house. The person inside can then press the button to open the gate. At 10:40, he began to ring the buzzer. He could hear it sound, but there was no answer. There were lights on in the upstairs, one light on upstairs. There were no lights on downstairs. It seemed to him like no one was home, and he was a little worried about that. So he decided to page his boss and find out if perhaps the plans had changed. At 10:43, he paged his boss. He was then worried that perhaps the page didn't go through. So at 10:49, he called his boss at home. The buzzer at the Ashford gate a few more times. Still got no answer. Now, during this period of time, Cato is still in his room on the phone with his girlfriend, Rachel. This area here shown, this is the southern border of the defendant's property. This is a walkway here, but it's not like a sidewalk. It's very narrow and it's very dark. It's just a few feet wide. It's covered with leaves. It has the shrubbery that's indicated here. It's actually from the neighbor's yard. And there's a chain link fence. The shrubbery is right up against it. It overhangs the walk to make it very dark. Here you can see what's indicated as an air conditioner. I don't know if you can all read it, but that's what's written here. This little black box here. This air conditioner actually hangs over the walkway quite a bit. It's an air conditioner that is set into Cato's wall. So you can see the air conditioner on the inside, and then it hangs outside the wall, outside the house, over that walkway. So that this wall of Cato's room faces onto the south walkway. There's no entry or exit there. He can't go out that way. If he wants to exit his room, he has to exit through the doors that are right here. They're like shuttered doors, like shutters, door like shutters. And he goes out through those shuttered doors to the pool area, and that's how he exits. So on that night, he's on the phone with his girlfriend, Rachel. Okay, what's indicated here?
P4.
What's indicated here is the area I just described to you. You see the shrubbery from the neighbor's yard and the chain link fence. And this is the air conditioner right here that I'm circling. That air conditioner is for Cato's room. It's set into his wall. This is the walkway. You can see how dark and narrow it is. This is a shot taken during the daytime. At 10:45, Cato was talking to his girlfriend Rachel when suddenly he heard on the wall where the air conditioner was 3 loud thumps. The thumps were so loud that a picture on that wall actually moved. Cato was alarmed. He asked Rachel, "Have we had an earthquake?" When she said she hadn't felt any, he became even more alarmed. And then he wondered if there might be a prowler, somebody trying to break in, because if it wasn't an earthquake, that's what it had to be. He was worried about the sounds he had heard. He was worried about those thumping noises. And so he decided that even though he was afraid and it was late at night and it was dark, he should go and see what the cause of those noises might be. A few minutes later, he hung up with Rachel and went out of his room to go and look.
P6.
This is a picture of Cato's room. Right up here, where I'm indicating, that's the air conditioner in the wall. The part of the wall that you can't see in this photograph, which would be actually over here, the opposite side of the bed, is where the picture was hanging that moved when the thumps were made. And now the shuttered doors I referred to, you can see them here at the left edge of this photograph. See them better here. This is taken from the head of the bed facing outward. These are the shuttered doors that lead out to the pool area.
P5.
He walked out of those shuttered doors and out through the pool area, coming out onto the side lawn that borders Ashford Street. When he came out to that side yard, he saw the limousine that was pulled up to the Ashford gate, but he figured that the defendant had already made contact with him, was about to let him in anyway, and didn't pay any further attention because he was very distracted by what the cause of those noises might be. Now, with him, he had a little dim flashlight that he was going to use to try and see what was going on back there in the dark. In the meantime, just before Cato came out onto the side yard, Alan Park was standing at the Ashford gate ringing the buzzer, still getting no answer. Finally, he heard the car phone ringing inside his car, and it was 10:52. He had still received no answer to the buzzing at the Ashford gate. Got back into the car and spoke to his boss, telling his boss, "I don't think anybody's home. What shall I do?" His boss told him to wait a little longer. And when he'd been speaking to his boss for 3 minutes, he saw Cato coming out the side yard with his little flashlight. Almost simultaneously with seeing Cato in the side yard, he saw a person 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, wearing all dark clothing, African American, walk quickly up the driveway and into the front door entrance. Immediately, as that person entered the house, the downstairs lights went on. Alan Park hung up the phone and walked over to the Ashford gate and buzzed again. This time, he got an answer. And the defendant said, a voice that Alan could recognize as the defendant's. The defendant said, "Sorry, I overslept. I just got out of the shower. I'll be down in 1 minute." Now, Cato, who was distracted by the possibility of a prowler, wasn't looking to see if anyone was coming and didn't see. And although Alan Park could not see well enough at the time the person entered the house to identify who it was, clearly that was the defendant. Now, while Alan was standing at the gate speaking to the defendant on the intercom, Cato decided to walk around to the south side of the garage, and he was going to attempt to go down that narrow walkway to see what had happened. But when he got actually back to this corner of the garage with that little dim flashlight, it was very dark and he was scared. So he decided not to, and he came back around. When he came back around, he realized that the limo driver was still outside the gate. So even though the defendant had spoken to him and said he was coming down, he did not open the gate for him. Cato had to go and open the gate. He opened the gate and he let him pull in. As soon as Alan Park pulled the limousine into the driveway, Cato, who was still very worried about the sounds, started talking to him, telling him he'd heard the thumps on his wall. His picture moved. He thought it might be a prowler, or maybe was it an earthquake? Had Alan felt an earthquake? Alan said, no, I haven't. Cato was very nervous, but now with Alan pulled into the driveway and inside the grounds, he felt a little safer. So Cato decided to go back to the area and try and check out the sounds and what had caused them. When he went back to the south side of the garage, he went through a first gate that basically you just lift and push against the wall. It's not a locking gate. Went up as far as a second gate, but couldn't see anything. It was still dark. The flashlight was very dim, and he decided to come back. He was still too afraid to go back there by himself. Cato came back out around the garage, and when he came out, he saw that the defendant had come out of the house by that time. Defendant was now wearing a light blue denim shirt and light blue denim jeans. As he came out, Cato also noticed that there was a small dark bag placed near where the the Bentley was parked. Remember, I told you the defendant parked his Bentley this way, facing out towards Rockingham. You could see that there was a small dark bag on the grass near that Bentley. It was Alan, Park, and Cato who were loading all of the bags into the limousine. And while they were loading the bags into the limousine, Cato spoke again of the thumps that he had heard and being worried that it was a prowler, thinking it might have been an earthquake, hoping, I guess, it was an earthquake. So he asked the defendant for a better flashlight so he could go around to the back area and check out the source of those sounds again. He and the defendant then walked into the house very briefly, but then the defendant said, "Oh, it's late, I gotta go." He came back out. While they were loading the bags, Cato offered to go and get that small dark bag on the grass and put it in the car for the defendant. Unlike any of the other bags, the defendant said, no, I'll go get it. He went and got the bag, the defendant got the bag and put it into the car. Now, the defendant did not give Cato a better flashlight, and when he left, although Cato seemed very concerned about the thumps, the defendant seemed relatively unconcerned. He got into the limousine and they left for the airport at approximately 11:15. Now let me back up for a minute. Just before he left, the defendant asked Cato to set the alarm. Cato said he didn't want to do that. He'd never set the alarm before. He didn't know the code. He felt very uncomfortable with the responsibility. Told the defendant, no, I really don't want to do that. The defendant then left. They left out the Rockingham gate at 11:15. Cato went back to his room to call back his girlfriend, Rachel Ferreira, as he promised to do. On the way to the airport, the defendant repeatedly complained of being hot. Alan Park could see that he was sweating, and he rolled down the windows and turned on the air conditioner. The temperature that night was 63 degrees. During that drive to the airport, Alan could see that the defendant was moving around with his bags in the passenger compartment, although he couldn't see exactly what he was doing. They arrived at the airport at 11:30, and that small dark bag that the defendant insisted on putting in the car himself was never seen again after the defendant left for Chicago. Now, during the time the defendant was driving to the airport, Cato was on the phone again with his girlfriend, Rachel. During that phone call, there was a call waiting interruption. Call was interrupted by the defendant. The defendant told him, "I need you to set the alarm. I forgot to set the alarm." He had to give Cato the security code and tell him where to go and set the alarm. There was a keypad outside the front entrance, at the front door. Now, in the 6 months that Cato had been living there, the defendant had never asked him to set the alarm before, had never had to give him the security code before. This was the very first time that had ever happened. Now, at this point, we know the following. I'll talk to you about the timing again. Cato last saw the defendant at 9:35 when he was standing by that black Bentley after they'd come back from McDonald's. 40 minutes later, at 10:15, we hear Nicole's dog barking, that loud, insistent bark that went on and on and on. And it would be safe to assume that it was very shortly within that period of time that the murders occurred. When Alan Park drove over to Rockingham and saw that the defendant's Bronco was not there at the Rockingham gate, it was 10:39. And so we know that the defendant had not yet returned home. The drive to between Rockingham and Bundy was timed, taking a normal rate of speed between the hours of 9:30 and 10:30 at night. It took approximately 6 minutes. Just so you can see the relationship of the two locations. Here's Nicole's condominium, 875 South Bundy, 360 North Rockingham.
All right, for the record, this is going
Brentwood?
to be a blow-up of the Thomas Brothers map.
Yes, map of Brentwood. So at 9:35, last sight of the defendant. 40 minutes later at 10:15, the dog is barking. Nicole's dog is barking. At 10:45, half an hour later, we hear the thumps on the wall. This leaves us between 9:35 and 10:45 for the defendant to drive from Rockingham to Bundy and back, a total of 12 minutes, which leaves him a full hour to commit the murders. Now let's go back to Nicole's home at 875 South Bundy. Now I'm going to show you what Sucru Bastepi saw when Nicole's dog took him to 875 South Bundy.
P7.
This is the view from the walkway. This is from the sidewalk area. At the end of the walkway, at the foot of the steps, you see the body of Nicole. She's wearing the black dress that she wore at the Mezzaluna that night. Officers Risky and Terrazas were the first officers to arrive at the scene. They got there at 12:13. That's 12:13 a.m., shortly after midnight. They immediately contacted Mr. Bastepi and his wife, who pointed to where they'd seen Nicole. Next. What you see here is what Officers Risky and Terrazas saw when they arrived at the scene. You can see here the paw prints
P8.
of a dog. Officer Risky will describe to you what it was he saw when he got there. They were the same paw prints, no shoe prints, only dog prints up and down this walkway. In order not to disturb the blood or any of the evidence, Officer Risky and Terrazas walked up the side where you see the bushes next to the walkway.
P10.
They walked alongside. It would be to the left side of the walkway.
You give me just a moment before you bring up the next one to let me know what it is. Because I indicated to you, I do not want to let out a video feed of certain items. Thank you.
Officer Risky went all the way up to the end of the walkway in the bushes to a point where he was able to see at that point that it was not just Nicole, but also Ron. Your Honor? This one.
P11.
Thank you. You see here Ron Goldman. As he was found by officers Risky and Terrazas. Now, what you're not going to be able to see in these photographs, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that Nicole Brown's throat was hideously slashed. And you'll be able to see, and the evidence will show, that her murder took very little time to accomplish. The same goes for Ron Goldman. As a matter of fact, what you will be able to see in this case, that I'll describe to you now, is the area in which.
Oh my God. So I hope that it doesn't get to because I have a weak stomach and I can't.
Where he had nowhere to run. And that is how his murder was accomplished in a very short amount of time. You can see the area he's in right there.
Okay, so good. They're not showing us.
How narrow this area really is. It's very small. He's bordered on one side by the rungs, you can see by the fence, and by the other at his feet. Yet another fence. It's literally backed into a corner.
Wow.
Now, so you can see the relationship and how close Nicole and Ron actually were. I have a diagram.
Johnny.
Yes.
Oh my God. No. Guys, I don't know. Damn. Let me go up a little bit. Yeah, they still showing it. So, all right. So I'm going to go up just a little bit. All right. Disclaimer for my channel. This is for educational purposes only. Vibrant, please do your thing in the chat, honey, because I just show. Okay, bet. Street, I got you Thursday. You crazy, child? You be making me feel like a bad person, and I love, like, it make me feel like I'm doing bad stuff. So, even if I am, child, wouldn't even know. What's up, Cass? Vibrant, please do your thing in the chat, y'all. Listen, what do I put up? Educational purpose. There, go right there. Educational purposes only. We're only covering the 1995 trial. Was it 95? Listen, that shit had me all. Listen, my stomach is very weak, and yeah, they show Ronald Goldman all curled up over there in the corner. It was bloody. Listen, stabbings are personal. Stabbings are personal, and when it came to Nicole Brown, her throat, like somebody was mad. Her throat was sliced so bad that it was all the way down to like her vertebrae, the cut. So yeah. And it's crazy because Ronald Goldman, he really was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And he went to go take her glasses because she left her glasses at the restaurant. But they were, you know what I mean? They were. But I'm pretty sure during their relationship, she had to ask him, like, how does it feel to, be dating or be with, OJ's wife? And I'm pretty sure he was a young guy. He liked older women. And he was, he probably was like, I ain't scared of him and this and that and the other. And she probably liked that because just imagine, probably a lot of guys wouldn't talk to her and stuff like that because they were scared of the juice. Now, it is rumored, I don't know if it's alleged that she also slept with another guy that was working on her house. And but when it came to Ron Goldman, he was a young thing. He was very young at this time. She was 2 kids and divorced. So I'm pretty sure the way how his parents, if you watch a couple interviews, and we're going to get into that. Like I said, this is pretty much my concentration of series for, I don't know, I don't care how long it takes. But you could tell she was one of those moms that was like, listen, you should stay far away from her. She's dangerous. He's dangerous. And I know she vented to him about, okay, hey, Jazz. I know she vented to him and was like, you know, OJ is crazy and he's doing this, he's doing that. But, he I guess he was in love with her. So, yeah. So I went up a little bit. They were showing some graphic photos, and I can't see that. And plus, like I said, this is for educational purposes only. YouTube, leave me alone. I'm over here minding my business. People hate me. They're gonna report me and tell y'all a whole bunch of stuff that I'm doing. And I'm over in my corner, child. Me and like one person, okay, and 3 other people when they feel like coming in and out. I'm not bothering nobody. I'm over here in my corner, minding my business. YouTube, leave me alone. Okay. I'm celebrating the 30 years anniversary of the trial, OJ Simpson trial. I was little. I was a youngin'. Okay. I was a youngin'. I don't remember it. So I want to watch it 30 years older. Okay. So YouTube, just leave. Let me leave. Let me live. I'm not doing nothing wrong. That's it. Please, educational purposes only. Y'all tell them that. Put it in the chat so they'll know. Because these haters, because they don't have nothing else to talk about, or they don't have nothing else that they could come up with to run series on or whatever, they want to bother me. Okay? And they'll gang up on me, bullying me, or because I get them stress and depression and anxiety. Hmm. Look at OJ. Look at OJ, y'all. Look,
That is the scene as it was
look at
found
him.
by officers Risky
He
and
ready
Gratha.
to go home.
P13.
He bored. Look.
There's a close-up. You can see now underneath the plant. It was harder to see before from a distance. The glove and the ski
He don't
cap.
care about none
What
of
you
that.
can also see here is the bloody shoe print. We'll be showing you more of those.
All right, Ms. Clark, I'm going to release this one video.
Okay.
Y'all see him? He don't care about none of that. I'm sitting over here doing my arts and crafts. I'm learning
P14.
something
This
that's
is a little bit
substantial
closer shot to let you see
to our
how
history.
clearly you see the bloody shoe
Yeah.
print at the scene, right at the right near the ski cap and the glove. And you can see how on a dark night, when it is dark there, the ski cap and the glove would be hidden by the plant, be difficult to find. And under pressured and hurried situation, you're not going to have a lot of time to
I
look
can't
for
draw
them.
a straight line to save my life.
Upon seeing that what you've just seen here, you ladies and gentlemen, Officer Risky went and notified his supervisor, who arrived at 12:30. A crime scene was immediately set up. Yellow tape was placed in front of the residence and behind the residence in order to make sure that no one would walk in and disturb any of the evidence. After the arrival of his supervisor, Officer Risky entered the condominium. Now, what I should tell you is that when he came to the scene, he found the body of Nicole. He could see the front door of the condo, and it was standing wide open. So she had just come outside when she was attacked. He went inside, thinking that there might be a suspect inside, and looked all through the house. Not only did he not find the suspect, but he found no evidence of ransacking, no evidence of forced entry, no evidence of a struggle, nothing that would indicate this was related in any way to a burglary. When he got upstairs in that condo, he found the two children, Justin and Sydney, asleep in their beds. They were taken quickly out of the condo, out through the rear, to avoid the hideous sight in front of their house. Now, what Officer Risky saw, he had gone inside to clear the house. He came out the front door and he looked down the walk. And I'd like to show you now what he saw on that walkway.
P.
Okay, Your Honor, this is, can you kill this one?
I'm gonna turn it off until I see something.
Thank you, Your Honor.
P15.
What I'm showing you here is a shoe print. Again, right here, heel print, a bloody heel print, and another one here. Next,
P16.
again, bloody shoe prints. You can see one set of bloody shoe prints as they go down the walkway.
All right, I'm releasing this one.
Those bloody shoe prints, that one set of bloody shoe prints continues all the way back towards the rear alley area where there's the driveway. Remember, I showed you earlier on that there was a driveway area behind the condominium where her Jeep was parked. These bloody shoe prints are all in the same direction, leaving the bodies of Ron and Nicole, going towards the back area.
P17.
And you can see them here again in a perspective shot. I'm circling with the red pen. About halfway down the walkway, they start to fade out as the blood is picked up by the sidewalk. What Officer Risky also saw were that there were blood drops just to the left of those bloody shoe prints. So next to that single set of bloody shoe prints leaving the scene, you had blood drops to the left of them.
P18.
These markers here indicate where there were blood drops found. And close up,
P19.
it's a close up of 112 that you saw farther in the distance, the blood drop.
P18 again.
That gives you the perspective. Now I can show you what I was talking about. Here's a bloody shoe print. To the left, blood drop. I'll farther see this one I'm circling here, close up,
P21.
another blood drop. You can see that it is to the left again of a bloody shoe print. You can see that's a heel you're looking at there.
P22.
Again, this is showing you another blood drop that was found going down the stairs. I should explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the walkway going from the front of the house to the rear has many stairs going up and down. So there are landings going up and down. You see a lot of stairs on this pathway. And on these stairs as well, I'm circling here. That's a blood drop. There were also bloody shoe prints seen here. I think you can even see this one I'm circling with the pen right now.
P23.
And that's close up, the one on the stairs. Blood drop.
P24.
Again, now this is at the rear gate of the condo. This tag shows another blood drop that was found. Close up,
P25.
and there it is. And now the blood drops continued out to the driveway area.
P26.
These markers show close up.
P27.
You see here the blood drop on the driveway. Now, the shoe prints that you saw were determined to have been made by a size 12 shoe. The defendant wears a size 12. The blood drops to the left of the bloody shoe prints. When the defendant returned home from Chicago, he was found to have had a cut to the middle finger of his left.
This look right here. Look at this look. When she said that the defendant wore a 12, but the way how he looked up, look at this look right here. Look at all the faces. Look at Shapiro. Look at Johnny Cochran face. But look at his face. Listen, OJ gives 0 fucks. You hear me? 0.
Hand.
Look at him.
P35.
I ain't never seen nothing like this before. Look. Was that a smirk?
The case was assigned to the robbery homicide division.
Yo, this
Detectives
man
still-
is in court smirking. Did y'all see that? Am I tripping? Did y'all see the smirk? Wait, the dream team, they wasn't speaking? Oh, I did hear Shapiro and Cochran didn't get along, right? But let me tell you something. Whoever thought to put Cochran on it, because he's so animated. But did y'all see that smirk? Right, Jess. That's what happens. He a spoiled brat. And see, he got off on this, but I blame Hollywood. That's what I said. Everybody just adored him. That's why he got away. He a spoiled brat, got away with everything. His mom, when he grew up, his mom just gave him everything, believed everything he said. She just adored him. You see what I'm saying? When he did that last thing he did, they had to put him away for a little while because he was getting beside himself. He was getting a little bit too bold. But I can't believe no, I'm not. I don't get away with nothing. Everything I do it gotta be justified. It got to be justified. Okay. It got to be justified. Okay. Now, in my real life, like, yeah, I gotta be honest. I gotta be really, really honest. I really gotta be honest. All right. So I'm that family member that if an event happened and I'm not there, then they notice. Yeah, I'm one of those. But I'm the baby, so all right, let's keep watching. I can't get over it. Look at this.
Philip Van Adder and Tom Lang,
His
the
whole
investigating
demeanor,
officers
child.
assigned to handle
He
the
think
case.
it's funny.
They arrived at the scene just after 4 a.m. and they
Look.
viewed the crime scene and the evidence as I've just described it to you.
I don't give a fuck
They
about none of
found
that.
the same things that Officer Risky found.
Ooh.
Given the fact that there were 2 young children being held at the station pending some adult who could take charge of them, they determined that they would go and make notification to the defendant. They then proceeded to the defendant's house.
The guard just happy to be there.
Now, they got to the defendant's house at
With the
approximately
juice.
5 a.m.
At
At that time, they started to ring the Ashford gate, and they buzzed and they buzzed.
Look at Kardashian.
Now, at that point, they could see there were lights on in the house, there were cars in the driveway, but no one was answering. They eventually got the defendant's home phone number, called it repeatedly, but again, they got no answer. Then the detective saw the white Ford Bronco parked at the Rockingham gate.
P30.
This is the position in which the Bronco was found, just to the north of the Rockingham gate. And that's what you're looking at here. This area here is the Rockingham gate entrance to the defendant's home. This is the location that Alan Park drove by earlier that night at 10:39 and saw that there was no Bronco there at that time.
P31.
The detectives noticed that there was a small spot of blood near the driver's handle of that door. The criminalist is pointing to it here. That's Dennis Fung.
P32.
Juicy, yeah.
That's a
In
close-up.
my real life.
You can see how small that spot
But
of
in my
blood is.
virtual life, I'm the one and only, baby.
This is
I'm
taken
too
from the
much
rear of the
behind you,
vehicle.
child.
P34.
Inside the vehicle, they saw in the rear cargo area, they were able to see a package that was addressed to Orenthal Productions. Knowing that that was the defendant's first name, they realized that was probably his car. After all they had seen and failing to be able to get any answer at the defendant's home, they became alarmed and they decided they would enter the property to see if they could locate someone or find perhaps another victim.
I'm doing all
When they went in, they went first to Cato's room. They knocked on his door and they asked him if there was someone there who could assist them. He directed them to Arnell, who was right next door. Cato told the detectives about the loud thumps that he had heard against the south wall of his
he was all
residence that
messed
night,
up.
and about being worried about the source of those noises. After he told them about those noises, indicating that it was on the south wall and it seemed to come from the area of his air conditioner, the detectives went out to look to see what could have caused those noises.
P36.
And this is where they went, the same area that Cato had walked to earlier but never gotten up to because he was too afraid, the area of the air conditioner. As they approached this area, it was very dark. They were unable to see anything until they got closer.
P37. P38.
And there's the glove where it was found, in the very same location in which it was found that night, right next to the air conditioner on that narrow path.
You see OJ daughter, y'all? Then what's her name again? Hold on. That's the oldest daughter. She like 50 something now. Hold on. But she's so pretty. And I believe she was in music videos back in the day. But that's all his people. Body language, hand crossing, they're not trying to hear none of that. I mean, arm crossing. But I think she is so beautiful. OJ's oldest daughter. Let me see her name again. OJ Simpson, oldest daughter. Knowing y'all probably already typed it in the chat. Arnell Simpson. That's her name. Did somebody type Arnell already? Okay, I thought somebody put Arnell. Arnell Simpson, the eldest child from OJ. She is so beautiful. All right, so she's 55. She's 55 right now. But child, she loved her dad. Okay. Yeah, they look very defensive. Yeah.
When they saw that glove, they realized that it looked like the mate to the glove that you also already saw at the Bundy scene underneath the plant at the foot of the body of Ron Goldman. They then realized that perhaps they needed to secure the residence, and Detective Van Adder then walked out of this pathway and out onto the driveway.
P40.
When he walked out onto the driveway, what Detective Van Adder saw, now that it was becoming light, it was at least 6 o'clock in the morning at that point, were blood drops on the driveway that led from the Bronco and all the way into the house.
P41.
And close up,
P42.
and there's the blood drop, one of the blood drops that was seen. On the-
P43.
This was inside the house. This is right inside the front door in the foyer area. There were a series of 3 blood drops here, close up.
P44.
You can see them here. I'm circling them. Having seen all of this, the detectives then realized that this was not just an occasion to make notification, that in fact they had uncovered evidence that indicated that the defendant had committed these murders. They secured the home and prepared to conduct a search. Criminalist Dennis Fung arrived at Rockingham at about 7 a.m., where he began to test all of the blood drops they had found. He tested the Bronco, and then he tested the drops on the driveway, determined that the drops on the driveway were indeed blood. Then he went to test the glove and found that it too contained blood. A search of the house, inside the house, revealed, among other things, a pair of rumpled socks at the foot of the defendant's bed in his bedroom.
P45.
You see there the socks that I just spoke of. This is exactly where they were found, in that condition.
P46.
close up. Those socks were collected along with many other items and submitted for analysis. Now, the defendant's Bronco that you earlier saw in Rockingham proved to be locked. They couldn't find any keys for it. They couldn't get into it. So it was towed in a locked condition on to the print shed, which is an area where the police keep large items that need to be fingerprinted, where they can keep it locked up. They towed it to the print shed and did not open it until the 14th, when they opened it by use of a Slim Jim. You'll probably hear some discussion of things that occurred with that Bronco after the 15th, and they may be interesting, but they have nothing to do with the evidence that was recovered on the 14th. And a search for blood was conducted of that Bronco on June the 14th. Those items were recovered, the blood was collected, and it was analyzed. And those items that we'll be talking about today that were analyzed were recovered from the Bronco on June the 14th. Now, all of the items I've just shown you were collected and submitted for examination and analysis. And what you have here is a trail of blood from Bundy Drive to Rockingham Avenue and into the defendant's very bedroom, linked by the defendant's white Ford Bronco. I'm not going to go into the details right now with you, ladies and gentlemen, about the manner in which evidence was collected or the manner in which it was all analyzed. We have experts for that. But I do want to make some general comments in order to point out a few things right now, just to dispel any misconceptions anyone might have about evidence collection and analysis. First of all, collecting blood stains is a very simple thing. You or I could do it. And I tell you this because I'm not that good mechanically or scientifically, but even I could do it. What you do is you take a very small square of cotton and you put distilled water on it and you soak up the stain. There's no magic. Anyone can do it. It's just like you would go and soak up a spill in your kitchen. Not very different. Now, many laboratories or many police agencies use lab technicians for that. You know, people that don't have a bachelor's of science or any particular degree in criminalistics or forensics. Forensics is a science of crime scene analysis and investigation. Many of them don't use anyone with a degree in that, but LAPD does. LAPD uses criminalists who are people that have bachelor of science degrees in forensic science, the science of crime scene analysis. So they actually use people that are overqualified for the job. A likely issue in this case will be the testimony of the coroner. Now, I know that we've all seen, some of us have seen anyway, Quincy, seen Jack Klugman on television. He goes out to investigate the crime and he finds out who did it. In the general course of things, although there is a coroner's investigator, that investigator is just responsible for collecting the body from the scene and getting it to the coroner's office intact. What the coroner does is the coroner looks at the body to determine cause of death. Ladies and gentlemen, I can guarantee you one thing in this trial: there will be no dispute as to cause of death. No one will argue about what the cause of death was for Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown. The issue that will be raised is the time of death. Now, what can a coroner do for you with respect to time of death? The coroner can never really be that precise. A coroner can tell you, just based on his examination of the body, he can usually bring it down to a range of within 3 hours, between 9 and midnight, between midnight and 3. But if you want to pinpoint the time to within a minute, 10 minutes, a half hour, or even an hour or 2 hours, a coroner, solely by his examination of the body, cannot do it. We always have to, and that's true in any case, we always have to rely on the testimony of other witnesses who will tell you when the victims made a phone call, or when they heard the victim leaving the house, or when they last saw the victim. Dogs barking, the kind of evidence I just talked to you about, is often what is used if you want to try and really pinpoint the time, because the coroner cannot pinpoint it to within minutes or even an hour, really, in any case. Now, before I get into the analysis of evidence, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what scientists and criminalists look for nowadays when they examine the evidence. we've made tremendous strides in many areas. In general, in order to be able to solve crimes, the police have to stay at least one step ahead of the criminals. That means that they have to look for evidence in places and in ways that the criminals will not have thought of. For example, when it became known that you could match fingerprints, criminals wore gloves. When it became known that a bullet removed from the body of a victim could be matched to the gun that fired the bullet, they started to dispose of weapons or to use weapons that could be easily disposed of other than guns. And nowadays, it's very common to find cases where no murder weapon is recovered because they're smart enough to get rid of those weapons. So not all criminals figured this out, but the smart ones did. So we look at blood, for example. We test it for DNA. We look at hair and fiber. We examine it microscopically, comparing it to the victims and to the suspects to see if we can exclude them or if it's consistent with them. Now, in particular, the value of hair and fiber is a very unique thing. The reason for that is that through your daily life, you walk around, you shed hair, you shed fiber, you pick up hair, you pick up fiber, and you're not aware of it. It goes unnoticed. It's an involuntary thing, and it happens constantly throughout the day. There's a very fancy term for this, and it's called the low-card exchange principle. You don't have to remember that, because all it really says is when you go into a place, the environment affects you, and you affect the environment. And it's just what I said. You leave hairs and fibers, you pick up hairs and fibers. So, for example, if you have a red couch, an expert can look at your clothing and find the red fibers, look at them under a microscope and compare them and say, first of all, you are near something with red fibers. And if he has access to that couch, can examine and see if they're consistent. That is, that they could have had the same source. What the value of this is that it shows contact. It shows where items of evidence might have been. It shows who might have been in a given location and who came into contact with who. Because you find hair and fiber so often in a crime scene, because the shedding goes unnoticed, this can be of very great value in solving crimes. So every crime scene and every piece of evidence has value in terms of being able to help you solve the case. Now, with respect to blood evidence, as you know, we've made enormous strides. We have advanced our ability to extract information from blood with the development of DNA testing. This allows us to be far more precise in pinpointing the possible source of a blood stain. And we can also have then the experts tell us how rare it is that you have a blood stain matched to the type of a particular person. I'm not going to go into the details of all that testing. I'm going to let the experts talk to you about that when they come in and testify. But they will. They'll come in and tell you about all of the processes, and they'll explain how rare it is to find a match between a blood spot in a place and a particular person. Now, the defense is going to speak to you at length about contamination and all the problems that could ensue in the testing, but I'll simply say this at this point. There are safeguards built into the DNA tests that you will hear about, and these safeguards will show when problems occur. This is one of the reasons why DNA testing is so reliable. And you'll see that in this case, we have many blood stains, as you've already seen, not just one. You might question it if only one of many blood stains came back to a suspect. But when one after another, after another, after another matches the same person, then you realize that the testing is accurate, that it works, and that if there was contamination, it wouldn't keep coming back to one person. It just wouldn't come back at all. And although we're talking about science, and sometimes just saying that word can make us uncomfortable, all you're going to need is common sense and logic to follow this evidence. That's all you'll need. Now, DNA testing is not only used to solve crimes, it has many other purposes as well. Some of you talked about Jurassic Park, and they used it to make dinosaurs, but there are other more common uses for it as well. For example, it is used in the amniocentesis. We talked about that in your questionnaire and when we talked to you during the voir dire process, if you recall. That's the process where you determine whether a fetus may have a genetic defect. Most of you are familiar with that, either by first or secondhand experience. And what happens in that process is that fluid is extracted from the mother's stomach, from the sac, and that's amniotic fluid. That's a fluid that the baby floats in to protect it. They analyze that fluid to see if the baby has a genetic defect. Now, that procedure has many of the same problems.
Yes, with the reporter, please.
Your Honor, while Council's watching sidebar, if we could maybe take just a little stretch break, stand up, just stand up. Maybe the jury would like to do one.
Trial. So if we have to take an unscheduled break, that's life in the big city. We can deal with it. Feel free to let us know. All right. We are going to take our regular breaks. You should expect about every hour and a half or so, hour and 45 minutes. We're going to take our first break this afternoon at 3 o'clock. All right. You notice I'm very time conscious. I have clocks all over my courtroom. All right, Ms. Clark, would you resume your comments, please? Thank you.
Now, the evidence will show that the amniocentesis procedure has many of the same problems that crime scene analysis does. And those problems are this. You have limitations in quantity. There's only so much you can get, right? If you go to a crime scene, you collect the evidence that you find, and you're limited by that. The same thing is true of the amniocentesis. First of all, you can't withdraw too much fluid or it will endanger the baby. Not to mention it's very uncomfortable for the mother. You're limited in quantity then in both situations. You also have a problem with a mixture. By that I mean, at a crime scene, you often have a mixture of the victim's blood either with each other or with the defendant. And that means that they have to know how to separate them out. Who could be the source of this and what possible mixture you have. That's a very similar problem to the amniocentesis, where you might pick up cells from the mother, and then you're analyzing for the genetic makeup of the mother instead of the baby. So they have to know how to separate that out in case it happens. So you have very similar situations. Another situation that is similar to crime scene analysis is identification of the war dead. One of the tragic aspects of dying in a war is that sometimes we're left with nothing but body parts, and we have to be able to identify whose they are. In order to establish the identity, they will take that body part, extract the DNA, and determine if it matches to, if that goes into a parental thing. You have to take the parents, and then you can tell based on what the parents' makeup is, whether this was their child. That's one way of doing it. It's called paternity match. DNA testing can do that. Now, obviously, the body parts, tissues, or organs that are found in war dead are found out in jungles, in deserts. They're found in terrible places where there's going to be a lot of deterioration. And it's difficult, the same way as in a crime scene, because in a crime scene, it's messy and dirty out there. It's going to be in a street, a sidewalk, a house, a car. That's not a laboratory situation. Well, it's the same thing with the war dead. You have kind of unfavorable conditions that are going to deteriorate a sample very rapidly. And so you have a similar problem with non-criminal crime scene uses as you do with crime scene uses. And yet DNA has been very successful in identifying the war dead. Another way that DNA has been used that is not in crime scene analysis is in identifying old remains. By that I mean skeletons. They can extract the DNA from skeletons to determine the identity of the people that once those skeletons were. And they did that recently to identify the Russian royal family that lived back in 1917. So you can see that the DNA testing procedures is a very powerful tool that is useful in many, many ways, not just in crime scene analysis, but in medical diagnosis and in identifications that are necessary in other areas. Now, there are a couple of approaches to DNA testing that can be taken. The first one, you're going to hear these terms a lot, so I'm going to start you today, is RFLP. That stands for Restriction Fragment Length Polymorphism. And that's all you have to know is RFLP for now. The experts will explain everything to you at the appropriate time. That is a very powerful tool used to pinpoint the identity of the person who left blood or hair or fiber, or excuse me, blood or hair or bodily fluid in an area. Very powerful tool. Another DNA test, not quite as powerful, but still more powerful than we used to have, is called PCR testing, polymerase chain reaction. In that form of testing, you can take much smaller bits of DNA and amplify them. That is, actually, you just multiply them. It's like Xeroxing. And you make it large enough so that you can test it. And that's been very, very powerful tool as well in analyzing and determining the source of a stain or bodily fluid that you find at a crime scene. Regardless of the method used, whether it's RFLP or PCR, they're both DNA testing. And the tests are really tests of exclusion. What does that mean? That means that when you conduct these tests, the effort is to exclude. You analyze the DNA and you see, can I exclude the suspect? Can I rule him out? Is there anything here inconsistent with the suspect or the victims, depending on what you're looking at? And that's exactly what was done in this case. With every piece of evidence collected, the effort was to exclude the defendant and to exclude the victims. That was the focus, and that is the aim of DNA testing. In this case, we asked this question over and over and over again. Can the defendant be excluded? No matter how hard we tried, over and over, the samples were tested and retested and tested again. Over and over again, we asked ourselves, can the defendant be excluded? And over and over and over again, the answer was no. The defendant cannot be excluded. I would now like to briefly summarize for you all of the test results of the analysis of the evidence I've just described. And I'm going to start with the hair and fiber. Now, the hair and fiber is microscopic analysis. It is not DNA, okay? This is the comparison of hairs and fibers that were found on various items of evidence and in locations at the scene that were compared to the defendant, the victims, and various other items of evidence. It's easier to explain to you if I actually tell you the results.
P14.
The ski cap that was found at the feet of Ron Goldman was examined for hair and trace analysis, and it was found on that knit hat that there was fiber like those from the carpet of the defendant's Ford Bronco. Now stop and think, why would there be carpet fibers like those from the defendant's Ford Bronco?
That's true.
Okay.
Just state what the evidence is. Thank you.
Also on that knit hat, we find hairs like those of the defendant. Which is what you would expect to find on a hat worn by the defendant. Your Honor, the next one.
P11.
Your Honor, before we pull that up,
I've got it.
thank you. On the shirt of Ron Goldman, we find a head hair like that of the defendant. On the glove found at the defendant's home at Rockingham, we find hair like those of Nicole Brown, hair like those of Ron Goldman, fibers like those from the shirt of Ron Goldman, and fiber like those found in the carpet of the defendant's Ford Bronco.
P48.
This shows you the defendant's Ford Bronco. You see the tags? Those all indicate blood spots that were recovered on June the 14th. The blood stain on the panel, and that I'm going to try and indicate it with the red light because it's at the edge of the photograph where that tag is. That blood, as well as the blood on the panel, matches the defendant.
P49.
The blood indicated here with the number 34 matches the defendant.
P50.
The blood on the panel here matches the defendant.
P51.
This blood on the console matches the defendant. The item number 31 on the console, consistent with a mixture of the defendant and Ron Goldman.
P53.
This blood stain was on the console. This was recovered later in time, after the 14th. That is consistent with a mixture of the defendant, Ron Goldman, and Nicole Brown.
P54.
The blood stain found in this area marked with the number 33 matches Nicole.
P40.
On the Rockingham blood trail, the item number 6, which is, they don't have a close-up of it. It's one of these 3 markers. We will have it better explained to you with a diagram during the trial. The blood spot number 6 matches the defendant.
P41.
This is the blood spot number 7 we showed you before, close up. Matches the defendant.
P42. P43.
Again, the blood drops that were found just inside the front entry of the defendant's home. This is blood drops number 12,
P44.
matches the defendant.
P45.
The socks that we indicated earlier to you were found in this condition, thrown hastily at the foot of the defendant's bed in his bedroom. The blood on those socks was analyzed.
P46.
It was determined that the blood on one spot matched the defendant. The blood on another spot matched Nicole.
P19. Pardon me, P39.
The glove that was found at the south walkway of the defendant's property at Rockingham revealed blood that was consistent with a mixture of Ron Goldman, Nicole Brown, and the defendant.
P19.
These are the blood drops at the Bundy location at 875 South Bundy. This blood drop that you see here, marked with the item number 112, matches the defendant.
P21.
Matches the defendant.
P23.
Matches the defendant.
P25.
Matches the defendant.
P27.
Matches the defendant. Apart from the test results, ladies and gentlemen, The mere fact that we find blood where there should be no blood, in the defendant's car, in his house, in the driveway, and even on the socks in his very bedroom, at the foot of his bed, that trail of blood from Bundy through his own Ford Bronco and into his house in Rockingham is devastating proof of his guilt. And the results of the analysis of that blood confirms what the rest of the evidence will show. That on June the 12th, 1994, after a violent relationship in which the defendant beat her, humiliated her, and controlled her, after he took her youth, her freedom, and her self-respect, just as she tried to break free, Orenthal James Simpson took her very life in what amounted to his final and his ultimate act of control. And in that final and terrible act, Ronald Goldman, an innocent bystander, was viciously and senselessly murdered. Remember that in voir dire, we asked you if you could use your common sense and reason to fairly and to objectively evaluate this evidence as neutral, impartial judges of the facts. You all promised that you could and you would, and we believe that you will. We have every faith and belief in the fact that you will all keep that promise. But it will not be easy. You will be tested and tempted throughout this case to accept the unreasonable and be distracted by the irrelevant. The defense will talk to you about possibilities, and they'll insinuate many sinister things based on those possibilities. Possibilities of contamination, possibilities of setup, all in an effort to explain away all of the physical evidence. But possibilities alone do not equal proof. You've heard the instruction that says that all matters subject to human affairs are capable of some possible doubt. That's why the standard is reasonable doubt. And you'll hear the word reasonable more than once in the jury instructions, and you already have. Because if the proof standard was beyond all possible doubt, there could never be a conviction. There can always be a possible doubt about something. The question is whether you have a doubt that's founded in reason. So beware of the efforts to get you to accept the unreasonable, be distracted by the irrelevant, and to base your decision on speculation, on mere possibilities with no hard evidence to show that any of them really occurred. Listen carefully to all the possibilities and the hints raised by the defense and ask yourselves, is there any proof that any of these possibilities actually occurred? Listen carefully for the defense to explain how the defendant's blood got on 875 South Bundy Walkway. It's going to be up to you, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have to be ever vigilant in acting as the judges in this case. Each one of you is a judge. Each one of you is a trier of fact. You have to examine all of the evidence very carefully, and as you do so, ask yourselves, is this reasonable? Is this logical? Does this make sense? Would I look at this evidence the same way?
Sounds like argument to me.
Look at the evidence the same way as you would for any other case. Now, winning is not what this is about. This is not a game. This is about justice and seeing that justice is done. 2 people have been brutally murdered, and the evidence consistently will point to the guilt of only one person as their murderer. Tell me what the evidence will show.
Are you about to conclude?
Mm-hmm. There was no rush to judgment in this case. It was very carefully considered before it was filed. The evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that as of June the 15th, many DNA results had already been returned. As of June the 15th, there had already been a match between the defendant and the blood found at Bundy Drive. There had already been a match between the victims and the blood found on the glove at his house. Many things were known, and yet it was examined carefully, the entire case examined very carefully, and was not filed till 2 days after those results were obtained. My job is to seek justice. I've had cases before this one. There will be cases after it. This case is not about the lawyers, myself, Mr. Hodgman, Mr. Darden, or Mr. Cochran. We have to remember what this case is about. And justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, if those words are to mean anything, we must all be equal in the eyes of the law, and we cannot use a sliding scale to judge guilt or innocence based on a defendant or a victim's popularity. We live in very, very strange times.
So this has all been argument for the last 5 minutes.
I'll wrap up, Your Honor.
Please.
We cannot succumb to the temptation to thwart justice and throw truth out the window.
I'm gonna have to stop you right here. I've warned you 3 times now.
All we're asking is that
Counsel,
I'm
I'm warning you. I've warned you 3 times now.
I'm concluding right now, Your Honor.
Please,
May I?
please.
Thank you. All we ask is that you stay focused on what the case is about the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your kind attention in this matter, and to thank you also on behalf of all of us for putting up with the rigors of sequestration. We all know it's difficult, and we appreciate all of your dedication to duty and service in this case. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Clark. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we will take our recess just a little bit early. Let me ask Deputy Magnier, how much time do we need? About 25 minutes? All right. We'll reconvene at 25 minutes after 3. All right. Thank you. Mr. Simpson is again present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Scheck, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Douglas, people represented by Ms. Clark, Mr. Darden, and Mr. Hodgman. The jury is not present. Counsel, before we resume with the jury, I thought I would advise you of 2 things. I'm going to advise the jurors as to the nature of the delay that we had yesterday, what caused it, and give them my reassurances that that difficulty will not occur again. Also to advise you that it is my intention from time to time to inspect the jury facilities, either on their holding pen upstairs or at the facility where we have them housed, to make sure everything's okay. And I'll advise you ahead of time before I do that, but just to let you know, I intend on doing that from time to time. All right, Deputy McNair, let's have the jury, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Darden.
The court please consider giving once again the 1.02 instruction indicating to the jurors that statements of counsel.
No, that's
Not
part of my
evidence.
standard,
Okay.
not rereading, but just reminding them of
Okay.
that.
And with regard to the exhibition of the defendant's knees, will the court also advise the jury that that exhibition is not evidence?
That's understood, and I'm sure Mr. Cochran will mention that to the jurors at the time he thinks that's appropriate, and he's also, I'm sure, advised the staff as to when that's going to happen. As to the exhibition of the knees,
Oh, yes, sure. It's not evidence.
yes, also the fact that you'll have to give the bailiffs advance
No,
notice.
I've talked to Deputy McNair, Your Honor. We're prepared on that. One thing that I did want to show also, if I could, is there is a mark on his middle finger also.
The one that was displayed by the prosecution yesterday? Yes.
Those two things I wouldn't, not have any surprises for the prosecution.
Would there be a 352 objection to that? What is the relevance of a scar on his finger today?
Oh, I think I'll link it up here.
All right.
Is that an offer of proof? I think I'll link it up.
It's an offer of proof. Thank you. All right, let's have the jurors, please.
You're watching Diva Tomboys live. You're watching Diva Tomboys live.
Okay, so sorry guys about that. We did reach the end and we made it through. Okay, we made it through to where were we? I'm so sorry, guys. I was on the phone, but it wasn't like a hey girl, so it kind of threw me off there. So but not to worry. I'm gonna watch the last 10 minutes that I did miss. But you got to hear the opening statements of Vibrant wants me to call her Marcia Clark. I'm gonna call her Marcia, and that's just what it is. If you are like a very super smart person and you ran across my content and you hear me saying Marcia and it's bothering you, I don't. This is just leave me alone, okay? But anywho, So we got to hear the opening statements from the prosecution. So next will be the defense. Okay. So we're going to hear from Johnny Cochran. And I would expect that Shapiro would speak too. So I can't wait. I want to know this excitement about Johnny Cochran that throughout the years, the people always spoke about. So I'm going to wait because I want it to be a live reaction like it is. I've never seen any of this footage before, and everything that I watch, I'm going to make sure that I, tune in, even if I'm sitting here. See, I was doing like little arts and crafts and stuff like that, but now I'm bored with that. So by me being bored with that, I want to do something else. I want to watch TV, and I could do arts and crafts while listening to trials, but I can't do, when I'm watching TV, I'm like locked in and focused. So since I'm bored with that, I don't wish to continue anymore. I was going to knock out some of the fucking content, okay? But I'm bored now. So I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to watch it. So the next time I go live, we have the excitement coming up with the civil trial between people in our community. So I'm really excited to hear about that. I don't know what's going on. Well, I can't mix the two because I don't want to mix the two channels up. But yeah, I'm bored over there for right now. So when something catch my attention, then I'll jump back into action. But as of right now, I'm totally stuck on OJ. LJ, hey boy. So OJ, just in case you run across this video tonight, tomorrow, 10 years from now, where you'll be like really super duper like old, I want to ask you a question, not about the trial. I just want to, it's something evil and dark about you. And it's funny at the same time. I don't know why whether you're a psychopath. I draw psychopaths. Psychopaths with money, so if you find my channel, which you probably never will, I wanted to tell you that you're like the most put together psychopath that I've ever. Well, no, you started to lose it. I think that the bull was getting to you a little bit. Yeah, when he did his opening statements, he was getting to you. Johnny Cochran had to lean over. What did he say to you? We're gonna find out. I wanna hear all the. Yes, guys. I'm from yes, I'm French, guys, and just for the trial, okay, pertaining to Marcia, but yeah, it's something dark and just like, yeah. And but you're an asshole, but you're hilarious. And at the same time, I think you're very gentle. I think you're a gentle giant. I think you're a real good person. I know what that looks like. Being a very good person, being a gentle giant, and underestimated, taken advantage of, and people not respecting what you put your foot down about. I get it. So part of me understands like why the bitch had to go. But then at the same time, it's like, OJ, why did you have to go that far? So anyway, so guys, I'll see you guys. Am I going to see you guys tomorrow? Probably not. But if I do, I'm going to be talking about something else. I think we're going to dip into, oh, yes. I have it right here. So tomorrow, we're going to be dipping into this interrogation between a judge and her son. I told you guys about this like a month ago, but then I tend to forget. So I have like stickies. You don't believe me? Here's my stickies. Come on here. Yeah, my stickies. So I have like stickies, and that's what it's telling me that I have to do. I also have videos to upload of Shamar. It's been a long time, but you get so caught up with other stuff that you're doing as far as content. And then on top of that, niggas that don't have nothing else to talk about, they throw you off, you know. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's about a judge and her son had got into some trouble with unaliving his girlfriend. And I didn't like how it went down. But I love Post. Oh, Post. But yeah, she got into some trouble um, with the Supreme Courts for this. I don't think she deserved it, but I would love to hear your input on your thoughts about the interrogation. Oh, only yellow? I don't care what color it is, just long. But I'm so excited. I have this pen. It has a cupcake up top and it has like liquid in it. And while I'm thinking, I just play with the liquid inside. It's so cute. I love a good pen. And it has to be like smooth. Like I can't, I love blue ink. I love blue ink pen. And yeah, and I'm lefty. And I love cursive. I love to write regular too. But I can't cut a straight line. I can't even with a ruler. You ever heard anybody that can't draw a straight line even with a ruler? It's me. And so I went to Michael's and I have these like glittery strips. They're so cute. And so yeah. It's like I'm girly sometimes, but I have my moments when I'm all like butterflies and glitter and sparkles and all of that stuff. But girls to me, they're like the girly ones, like, oh my God, my eyelash. Like, I'm not doing all of that. Like, I'm just not. Makeup is just like, ew. But I love watching like the Matte girls, they're so cute, and then they do makeup. And I think like I like how they can like paint it on like with a steady hand. Like I like the outcome of it. So I think I like makeup, but like not like the pounds and pounds of it. Have I ever worn makeup? One time I said, okay, I'm gonna try makeup. And it didn't work out because right after the I do's and all that stuff, yeah, my wedding day, I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know what it is. It's like it feels, even if it's not heavy, even if it's the good stuff, it's just I think it's because I don't want anything like on me. Does that make sense? Besides clothes, shoes and stuff like that. But I can't take anything like I wear a bonnet. Like I have braids in now, so I'll wear a bonnet, but even that like bothers me, like because it's all right. Let me just because it's on my head for too long, so I'll just take it off or a scarf or something like that. I don't know why I'm so sensitive like that. But anyway, so guys, preferably you have a ruler with a metal edge. I used to number 2 pencil. Yeah, yeah, I get it. But or with the what's those pencils that start with a T? Those pencils, I like how those pencils are. But for the most part, I love pen and I love big is cool. Big is cool. But a really good cute pen, like I have to have a cute pen. And not a dollar store pen, like that's the lid here. That's my pen, but it has liquid in it in a cupcake up top because I like snacks. But okay, guys, that's all. thank you all for tuning into. Not only do you support my ghetto shows, but you support my content shows. All right, that's very encouraging. But to be quite honest, if it was just me in here, oh, is that the name of it? You know what I'm talking about? They already come sharp. Oh, I just love those pencils when I need some, when I need a pencil. Hmm. But God, listen, guys, even if I have a ruler with like the metal piece, like what Vibrant is speaking about, for some reason, for the life of me, I cannot draw a straight line. I just can't do it. Um, line paper, of course, it helps, but yeah, give me some just like white plain paper without lines, and it's going like to the right, because maybe it's because I'm a lefty. I have no idea. But I love being a lefty. I really do. And when I watch movies or TV shows or reality shows, when I see people pick up the pen to write with their left hand, I'm like, oh my God, I get super excited. And it's crazy because if you look at a lot of movies, it makes sense why they are stars, honey, because they are lefties. Finer point doesn't make a difference. It just doesn't. But what I do is, and what I have always done, even as like a kid, I'll just like do stuff to camouflage the fact that it's not, and I just make it go. So if it's slanted, I'll just keep writing slanted, and just make like the font that I'm writing just go up to the right, and just make it like I did it on purpose. So I just, camouflage it like that. Like I said, when it comes to, even talking, publicly and stuff like that, um, I'm surprised, all this time on the internet, I've always been considered like the voice and stuff like that. But I have a pediment. I can sometimes stutter, you know, but whatever. I think that's what makes me unique. That would drive me crazy. So are you? Oh my God! Like I cannot. Every single thing. I'm just looking around at all my little reminders and stuff like that. Everything is just going up to the right. And no matter how, I have nice handwriting though. And like I said, I love cursive, but everything that I do is just like slanted. I don't know how to draw. I don't know how to I don't know how I can give somebody an idea of how something should look, but to actually sit and do it myself, I suck. Now when I play piano, I can play the fuck out of a piano, but um I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Yeah. But pretty much for like organization, like I could, well, something. I'm looking at my desk. I'm looking at my desk right now, guys, and it's pretty much a mess. But it's not a mess like dirty. Like don't get it fucked up. I'm a pianist, a pianist, a pianist. Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty much what the core did. The core kind of like, I mean, they turned me into a machine already than what I was already born to be. So a goal oriented machine. So I was already, what I mean, pretty intelligent. But you hear so many people say that are so, but I have to give myself credit. I got good grades and stuff in school. I was a good girl. And then I went to the Marines and they just was like, what? I could have sworn, I think one of them drill instructors called me a pussy ass hoe. You know what I mean? So once you get the good education, my parents ain't play that about me. And then, You get trained by the best, you unstoppable. And that's just what it is. And you might, I love when I hear other females say, oh, well, she lying. And I'll be sitting there like, do you know I wish that I was lying on some real shit? Do you know how many parties I missed? Do you know how embarrassing it was to not be able to be outside when a street light came on? Have you ever been embarrassed to the point where it's like, are you serious? Stop. Has your mother ever taken her thumb, licked it, and to push her eyebrows back? Like, are you serious? Do you guys know? Like, so when people say, oh, you have to be lying, and I'd be like, well, damn, how was your life? You get what I'm saying? How was your life? Because I consider mine holy hell only because I felt like I was sheltered. I wowed the fuck out when I went to the service, like on some real shit. I did. I wowed the fuck out. And I think it was because, you know, I was sheltered, and not, like I said, I stand by what I said. I don't think that parents, like, you should shelter your children because she was a perfectionist. Wow. Wow. See? And so that means vibrant. That isn't good because perfectionists, like it's not cool to be like, they dress up the words for it now with saying like a narcissistic parent, but that's it's I wouldn't consider it abuse, but when you get grown, you're just discovering certain things. So I would consider myself, when it comes to the street, very naive. People pretend well. Like, I sit and be listening to certain motherfuckers, like they be trying to pretend like, you know, they're naive and they don't know. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. A motherfucker, a motherfucker that's really naive can peep motherfuckers that's not naive. They pretend well. Just because you might act like, oh, what? Oh my God. Does not mean that, even though they might act like, no, you ain't gonna tell me that you naive, my nigga, and you got a mugshot. I almost can't wait till these motherfuckers dox me. You won't find a mugshot. I've never been arrested. And a picture are you kidding? So when I hear motherfuckers, and somebody, I don't even want to say her name, especially over here. When I hear a certain motherfucker try to play naive, bitch, you was a whole escort. What? Bitch, you probably fuck niggas, more niggas in a night than I have in my whole life. Do you hear me? Do you understand it? Like, what you mean? I don't even want niggas nowhere near me. Don't get close to me. Like, I don't even play them type games. You see what I'm saying? You never had a ticket? Oh, I've had a ticket. I've had a ticket. Oh, I can't go that far. We gotta vibrant. We gotta play the game. We gotta play this game. I never have I ever. Shelly and them was playing it, I believe. Shelly was. We just gotta be honest about taking the shots. But for the most part, naive bitches, um, can peep. Bullshit ass bitches. No, you ain't gonna tell me you naive and proper and bougie and all of that stuff. And you out here with a whole mugshot or a whole escort, like Miss Me with the dumb shit. And like I said, it's sometimes offensive. It's just like motherfuckers calling you dumb, and you could just hear just some of the stuff that they say. You could tell is what kind of education. You know what I mean? And that's even with accents. You see what I'm saying to you? Just like some people could be from Texas. They have their own like little style or way of speaking. So when you have somebody that's not from Texas, you're going to hear it because created accents can always be pointed out, especially I know musicians, y'all be hot. Like when y'all hear motherfuckers, because musicians, y'all got ears and shit like that. You know what I mean? Especially if you play an instrument and stuff. But you got a lot of motherfuckers in the cut that just be in the cut over here. But y'all really got shit going on in y'all lives. And y'all be whole musician producers and all sort of shit. But specifically musicians, I know y'all be sitting and listening to, especially if you've been around like the world and accomplishing shit like that. You've been to several places and all you do is listen all day long, especially trolls that's been around for a very, very long time and heard people come and go from all different states. Y'all have an ear for shit like that. And that's how trolls can pick up when motherfuckers is impersonating, when they not real. No, they don't have to dox you. They don't have to do none of that. They've sat in for years around this motherfucker, hearing different accents. It's just certain words, just certain things that you'll be able to determine, because no matter how educated a person is, they're always going to bring out, especially depending on what they're speaking about. But even if a person is speaking proper, you're still going to hear that accent that they have, whether they're in New York or whether they're, you know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to a certain person that's loud and belligerent, you could tell that she don't have no education. You could tell that. But when you hear people from New York, maybe like a Merwan or something like that, even when it came to the other crazy bitch, she was educated, but certain things that she would say, it would bring out where they're from. So I don't buy it. And it's offensive to sometimes have people pretend to be naive, and then they have a criminal background, and that's not being not naive, nigga. You're in the knowing. You get what I'm saying? A naive person wouldn't even know how to even do anything like that, to have those type of charges be put on their record, and totally being here. I went from being like embarrassed that I am naive. Well, not anymore. Okay. On Paru, I'm a whole internet gangster out this motherfucker, like on Paru. And it's so crazy because I'm such a good actress with being from the gang of Paru that people don't know whether I'm being for real or not. And it's so sad because the worst thing I've ever done is right now I owe the library $32 and I keep forgetting to turn it in. But I will fuck you up though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get it fucked up. Like, I'm one of those. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I will fuck you up. But at the same time, nah, I'm not. I don't know nobody that would sue me in the street. If they do, I would be like, oh my God, somebody recognize me. That's a whole real Paru motherfucker. And they're suing me because they recognize me. And I'm always, matter of fact, I'm going to stop putting that on my wall because I don't want, but online, shit. If motherfuckers can play being naive, if motherfuckers can play educated, if motherfuckers can play all of these characters, why can't I say on pirate? Why? At least I'm clear about not knowing why they say on Pyru. I don't know anything about it. I tried to watch a documentary on, I did watch one on, what's his name? The one that discovered the Crips. I think I like because of how he turned his, life around, and he became a positive. So I think I like that, as well as BAP. Oh, BAP is another one. Okay. Oh, that's why. Oh, Bapping Like a Hoe. So, like I said, when I first came on this motherfucker, I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna let my guard down, you know what I mean? So, so I was ashamed. I really was. I was ashamed. Not ashamed of being, my accomplishments and stuff like that. But sometimes as a female, you might not hear females admit to it. But when you have females that grew up in that sheltered environment, first of all, I can tell who's who. I can tell who grew up in a sheltered environment. I really fucking can. I can tell who parents would have never thought that they had probably did some things that they snuck and did because of how they was raised. Good girls can point out other good girls. They really can. And they can sniff you and tell, like, remember? And I love talking to a lot of the females that hang around me because some of the shows I used to watch as a kid and stuff like that. And I can relate, and whatever. So it's not a goody two shoe. It's just that parents raise their kids different than what they might raise, how other people may have raised. And I hope I'm explaining it right. But I used to be, like sometimes, like one time I was having this conversation. Oh, it's still on my channel. So I don't know if you guys remember, I was talking to Reed and Bruja. Now, Bruja, she came from a very good environment, right? But Bruja had more freedom than I had. So she's more like her parents and, grandparents used to buy her whatever she wanted. And, she's had a car and, and stuff like that at an age where she probably just got her license, 16, this and that. So she was spoiled, rotten. And so basically, if she wants to go to a club or something like that, or we had a place called Dances, like she told, remember she came here, she was like, oh yeah, so I went to Dances and I used to work there too. So especially in Philly, if motherfuckers putting you behind the counter, then you trustworthy, one, and you know how to count, and you smart as fuck. So in Philly, you could have niggas that did hustle and stuff like that. That was, big time drug dealers. But when it came to like the good girls and shit like that, we were considered like different. Now, I can't say we were because I didn't have the opportunity versus, just giving an example because you guys know Bruja. You get what I'm saying? She had more freedom. You get what I'm saying? So the point is, I know about Dances, and imagine how I feel, when we had that conversation with the Philly Girl panel. They're talking about the clubs. They're talking about Saturday night at so-and-so and all of this stuff. And it's like, I can't, I'm the one that's quiet. And even when I tried to blend in, like, oh yeah, I remember that. I did go to kiddie discos. Easter, I did go to kiddie discos. They were fun. But when it got a certain time, my siblings had to get me in the house by a certain time, or all hell would break fucking loose. That's how it was. So when I finally got grown, when I turned 18, believe it or not, still to this day, and I'm a grown ass woman, the narcissistic behaviors of my parents, they really are. They still like, I'm like trying to control me. You know what I mean? And I mean, like I could call my mom like right now and tell her, oh, I'm about to, because I love Snickers. Oh my God. I love all candy. But I'll call her and be like, oh, so mom, I'm gonna eat a Snickers and I'm gonna watch some TV. And why are you eating Snickers this time of night? Because I want to, and I'm a grown ass lady. Um, it's past 9 o'clock, and eating food like that at this time of night, yo, I so wish I could tell y'all how. I wish that I could tell somebody to tell y'all I'm not lying. I'm telling you the honest to God truth. Oh well, you shouldn't be eating that stuff. And oh look, mom, I had this for dinner and you didn't have any vegetables, that's too many starches. This and that and the other. See, that's why you gaining all the see? And she be straight. You think I'm straightforward? Nigga, please. That's why you gaining weight. And I'll be like, I like being like that. You like being stupid? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Listen, when I'm doxxed, listen, please call my parents and tell them anything you want. Okay. And watch what they say to you. And you'll see where I get it from. Okay. So maybe I was abused. Maybe I do fit in. Maybe I do fit in. And that's another show that we could do, another series, Narcissistic Parents. We hear about narcissistic relationships. What about us? What about us that grew up underneath narcissistic parents and still when you're grown, y'all, I'm telling you, this, I'm telling you, I'm not allowed. Did you hear me? And I'm a grown up. I'm a grown up. My mom would be so like, are you kidding? If I have a drink, I have never drunk alcohol around my parents. Are you serious? Oh no. Oh no. Let me tell you something. If we were to go out to eat, okay, and I'm just sitting there with my parents and it's just me and I'm getting something and I want a drink. I want a glass of wine. If I was to ask the waiter or the waitress, can I please have a glass of wine? At this age, right? I'm married with kids. Like I'm grown. Let me say, can I have a glass of Pinot Grigio? She'd be like, who? What? I beg your pardon. Oh my God. Listen, first of all, if I'm doxxed, you could tell her whatever you want to tell my parents. They'll never believe you. Never believe you. You have to play the audio, and I'll still deny it. What? But then the mother will listen. The parenting will kick in. Like, all right, so she grown. Oh yeah, she grown. So then, what you want me to do? What you want me to put on punishment? Oh yeah, she'll break it down like that. If you put her in the corner, see, another sister, you put her in the corner to make me look bad in any way. But then guess what? I'm helping y'all. The ones that hate me. After y'all do it, guess who phone gonna ring? Boop, 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 boop. I know. All that money we put into your school, you ain't online acting a child. Now y'all want to get me, huh? I don't give a fuck about no pizza box. I don't give a fuck about no CPS. You're going to be losing. I don't give a fuck whether you're outside in front of my door. Make sure you don't miss. I don't give a fuck if you walk up to me in the street. You better knock me out cold, bitch, because I'm a damn near bite your face off. Okay? A whole monster going to come out. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. But if you ever so I get sometimes a little jealous over that because you have women that have that relationship with their parents that they can be themselves as grown adults. Ain't that something? So where are the shows for us, the sheltered kids? Like, where are the people with the narcissistic parents? Not narcissistic to actually, do like be mean and beat you bloody and stuff like that's horrible. Like, seriously, I would dead ass, like me and my mom would like cry together, like on some real shit. Like on some real shit. I I think it's fucked up. I just don't like how people come online and take it out on motherfuckers who haven't done that shit to them. Put that energy into the motherfucker, because there's no statute of limitation. So when I hear people online talking about how they was molested by their cousins, their brothers, their uncles, their aunts, it's no statute of limitation. So somebody's lying. Or you don't mind your uncle or somebody that touched you, you know what I'm saying? You don't mind that they around. What? Nigga, I'm telling. You hear me when I say if a husband or somebody come in my DM, it wasn't no tea with that Ali is this and that shit. I've always, anytime her husband was in my DM, excuse me, your wife know? Oh yes. Never played those type of games. And guess what? As a child, I'm telling. Do you hear me? I'm telling everything. Yeah, everything. Sure am. Telling everything. And at the same thing, now I'm not talking about when it comes to what my loyalty is to, because I don't give a fuck about what nobody do. That's just it right there. But if I fuck with you, I fuck with you. But I'm talking about if somebody man started my DM, I'm telling your wife. I'm telling. I'm not going to keep the emails. Nope. I'm not using it for Mad Day. Nope, not doing it. Don't care. Not doing any of that stuff. Violate me, and I'm telling, bitch. That's just it. All right, y'all. So, if you are a sheltered child, and you understand where I'm coming from, listen. I can tell if you are a sheltered kid. That's true. Sometimes I feel like I don't belong. Right. It's hard to imagine that most of the people in this area of YouTube have all had the same life experiences and not good. Vibrant. There's a YouTube channel about side from family members. Oh, okay. So Vibrant, this place, let me tell you, this is the first place. Listen, may God strike me down, and I don't play with God. May God strike me down if I'm lying, that I don't have no blessings or anything like that. I'm telling you, I've never ran into so many people that have been touched. I have never ran into people like this. Do you understand? Bruh, I had to become a whole nigga out this motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had to become, but see, like I said, like I think because I'm not no pussy, that's the fighter in me from the rip. So it don't matter whether I'm from the streets or not. You see what I'm saying? You ain't gotta be from the streets to whoop somebody motherfucking ass. And that's just what it is. See, the reason why I was able to overcome over this motherfucker is because brains beat all. These motherfuckers are stupid. They dumb. They don't have. I've never heard of people not having common sense. They don't have common sense. They're stupid. So by them being dumb and illiterate, some of these motherfuckers secretly can't read. They can't write. They can't write paragraphs. You ever just look at somebody's wall like, goddamn, like I might have like a little mistakes or something like that. You get what I mean? I might be missing a comma, but goddamn it, like these motherfuckers can't tell, like, you know what I mean? And the reason why, sometimes I just gotta get to the point where I be like, all right, you somebody you better than me, you just let that shit slide, But then when you start telling the motherfuckers, let's do a reading show. Let's see who can read the book the fastest. You get what I'm saying? Verbatim. Put that shit up on the screen. Let's see who can read. You know what I mean? Let's see who can automatically know the definitions of so and so. I might not be pronounce that shit right, but guess what? Guess what? You see what I'm saying? Shit, I'm not the only one in the world like that. Shit, that's why I got the speaker by the Google thing. When you Google motherfucking shit, they got the speaker right there. The shit will say it to you. Huh? They'll say it to you. I ain't got none of that. I promise to God I don't. I really honestly, Vibrant, here, let's get deep. I think I'm doxxed. But it's nothing to tell. I think I'm doxxed. But pretty much you could drag me about, you know what I'm saying? Parents doing Mr. Beasley, like, Like, that's why when I first got to know you, I was like, yo, like, I love sitting and listening to your shows and you be talking that shit. Like, you know what I mean? And then when you broke it down that your mom was an English professor, I'm like, yo, so how the fuck can, like, this shit is mind blowing, right? Mugshots, abuse, DUIs, drugs, weed, etc. Now, people can smoke their weed, you know what I mean? People can smoke their weed because you got weed, and some people, but I've never seen people like back to back to back to back to back. They rolling up, but like, god damn, I've never seen anything. And I only, and then when I hear people talk about me, especially one person in particular, that's like, I have to be lying. No way I only smoked weed twice. No way I can't relate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why would I have to lie about that, for one? But for two, if I don't know, I don't know. Being a sheltered child for the people, listen, the reason why motherfuckers find it hard to believe, because you're not me. So if it's another sheltered child that I talk to, they're going to know exactly where I'm coming from. I'm not bragging about being a sheltered child. What I'm telling you, I'm trying to figure out, was it a form of abuse to have narcissistic parents? What are you talking about? And guess what? On the holidays, we used to go down to the Macy's light show. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys, if you even just visited Philadelphia, and you guys are like, what, Generation Xers and stuff like that. If you ever been to Philadelphia, let me tell you something. I don't understand some. Okay, so my mom used to shop at Strawbridge's. Like, you get what I'm saying? So I had pea coats and all of that stuff back then. Like, I had to put scarves on, because if it's cold outside, you have to close up your chest. You get what I'm saying? So I had to have mittens on. Mittens that, if I lose a glove, bruh, if I lose well, when I was little, used to have it. My mom used to like sew it on my coat so I won't lose my mittens, But when I got older, when I used to use a glove, oh my god, okay. When I tell you, like, I had one of those moms to lick her thumb and be looking, brushing my eyebrows down and everything. Talking about pride and joy. What? I used to have ruffles on my socks, big giant fucking ruffles on my socks. I had the hard shoes, when I started walking. Okay, I mean, if I start walking and you know what? Do you know that my mom still has the book that when I first was born, shots that I had, when she took me to my health shots all the way up, bro, I couldn't believe it. Buster Brown. So she has in my listen, my mom still has my baby book. Okay, baby book. Baby book. My first words and everything. Okay. So she got me, like, I had the hard shoes. I started walking at 8 months. Okay. And I had the hard shoes with the little thing in the front. Listen, you know what she did to those parents? I don't know if they, maybe because I'm a little bit atheo, but she got it painted in some sort of child. I don't know. Still to this day, got my shoes that I started walking in. Okay, my mom is obsessed with me, like, on some real life shit. Like, on some real shit. Oh, I wasn't nothing, but I told you, like, my dad almost had like he stroked out when I said I was going to the Marines. Are you kidding me? They had a fit. Oh yes, bronze. That's what it is. Oh, I wish somebody could the person could tell you that I'm telling you, because trust me, I still wouldn't be around here if my whole shit wasn't ran. Okay. All right. So when I tell you, Christmas, we went to the Macy Light Show downtown, Strawbridge's and Clothier, John Wanamakers. What are you talking about? You see what I'm saying? Child, please. I wore Buster Brown. Yeah, them shoes though. Them shoes. I don't know if I have a photographic memory, so I'm starting to remember since I started mentioning the hard shoes. You kick somebody in that motherfucker, man. I remember I believe my aunt or somebody, and oh man, I got in trouble with the ties. Yep, she still has them. So the so when I hear and I'm gonna go ahead and close out because I didn't mean for this is my content to be that long, but I'll just edit it out. I did too. I did too. I did too. Okay. That's what I said. I love having conversations. People could say they went to private school all day long. I know if somebody went to Catholic school, like, you know what I mean? I'll know if somebody went to Christian school because that's all I know, and I can tell, if they're telling the truth. But some things I don't talk about because I have stalkers and I have people that imitate me. So I'm just waiting for. That's why a lot of people don't hit panels with me because I'm gonna start asking some questions. You get what I'm saying? I do not appreciate spending my whole life, you know, um, as precious cargo, and then yeah, I went buck wild. But let me tell you something. It wasn't buck wild that you think. Like I still was like, and my mama say, "Oh, that was the grace of God," and I believe it. It's just certain things that I just would not do, and still to this day, it's just certain things that I just would not do. But some, I did go through. Okay, I could never do this. I could never do that. I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? And but okay, but I've never snorted. I've never, and I think people know that to be true. That's why they attack some of the things that they attack. But I could never go. It's not saying that, well, I've never been around it. One time I was, and I was like, girl, what? But I don't know why bad people always, and I call them bad people, but bad people are drawn to me for some reason. I don't know. I just don't know. Um, but yeah, but I've always felt like protected in some way that people just never wanted to get me involved in a lot of things. And so when I tell you I don't know about something, I just don't know. I don't. But even if I did, I probably still wouldn't tell you. But the way how I am, I'll fuck around and just like ruin it. But I wouldn't. I don't mean any harm. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know y'all was like, when I came back, like, this girl is all over the place. What is happening here? We're just gonna. I know some of y'all mouth drop. Like, what the fuck is she saying this right now? Yes, I am. I don't know what you want me to do. Just don't tell me. Wow. See what I'm saying? Wow. Hey, you went to Africa? I would love to go to Africa. But is it like a lot of flies there? I don't like flies. I do not have children, but if I did, definitely Catholic school. Yeah. You know what though? Catholic school, I had fun. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen. So, y'all, I listen. Sometimes I'll be on this motherfucker just having the rabies, but some things I just remember. You get what I'm saying? You just get sick and tired of hearing people. Why front? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why front? Right, when I got it right. Now, the Hail Mary, I don't remember. Hold on. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. The Lord is with thee. Blessed something of the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Wait, hold on. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed. Oh my God, I forgot. Blessed something of our fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sins now and forever. Amen. So what am I missing? Okay, art thou Hail Mary amongst women. Okay, Hail Mary, full of grace. Okay, so if you say it, then tell me. Not bad though? Okay, good. Yeah. So, like I said, just like little things like that, like you can always act when somebody claims stuff, ask them. Oh, I'm from here. I'm doing this and that. All right, well, ask them. Ask them a question that only, you know what I mean? Or just, I don't have time to look it up real fast. Like, I'm just rapping. This is just off the dome. Like, you know what I mean? But the easiest way to always catch somebody alive, like, that should be offensive to me, bruh. Like, it really do. It'd be offensive to me. It really do. To have my fuckers up. Oh, you so naive, this and that, and other, but you got a whole fucking mugshot, bitch. You a whole whore out here. Whore. You know what I'm saying? You a whole whore out this motherfucker, bitch. What are you talking about? You came from the streets. Like, you know what I'm saying? Some nigga saved you. Ain't no nigga saved me. What you mean? I make a nigga better. Fuck you talking about? So that shit get on my nerves. It really do. But you can always tell because guess what? They always end up showing themselves. Always. But you upset with me because I carry myself in a certain type of way. And that's all they have been trying to do is discredit me on this motherfucker. They really do. Straight the fuck up. All right, y'all. Y'all already know I don't have no special ending. I'm gonna go ahead and edit this out. The nuns don't wear habits anymore and have it for years. Yeah, that was from Sister Act. I love him, I love him, I love him. And when he goes, I'll follow, I'll follow, I'll follow. I will follow him wherever he may go. There isn't an ocean too deep, a mountain so high you can keep me away. Oh, a mountain so high you can't keep me away from his love. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I love him. I'm gonna follow. You'll always be my true love. Like, I really be watching that stuff. I be knowing the movies by heart. Listen, when Clueless is on, I talk with the movie. Like, I can watch Curly Sue over and over and over, and Richie Rich and Pet Detective. Like, that's the type of girl that I am. I'm not sitting around watching no ghetto ass Tubi. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, well, I do. I wasn't allowed to do anything, and still, as a grown ass fucking lady, I wish somebody can attest to this, but that person is not going to listen. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I've been and got trolled and said stop lying. What I'm telling you is I'm a grown ass fucking lady, and I still am petrified. Okay, of mommy dearest. No wired hangers. Now I didn't get beat for it, but it's similar. You gonna sit at that table until you eat the motherfucking peas. When I tell you I don't like peas, that's what the fuck I meant. But guess what? I had to sit there, and mommy dearest, of course I seen the movie, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do just like, that's how black parents are anyway. You're not gonna move until you fucking eat it. Still to this day, I'm harassed and stalked because if I don't eat enough vegetables as a grown lady. Do you understand? Let me not answer the phone. What? Okay, I can probably get away with it a couple days. Shit. That motherfucker, you'll see something flash across your... and I'm a whole grown up. One of the people you just named, her mama paying diva. Oh yeah, huh? I know that's your homie. You love your son. You love your son. It's understood, but she's not naive. She plays it well. But I don't appreciate that. No, you're not naive, girl. Mm-mm. We like, come on now. Like if when I'm doxxed, y'all gonna see just how I grew up, and you're gonna be mad. You're gonna be mad. Okay. I want to know what kid you know had a fur. Yeah, please hurry up and dox me. I surely did. Yeah, I sure did. But it was only like a little red fur. I had a red fur. Guess what? Please dox me so I can show y'all all the pictures of my life. All listen, my mom was such a narcissist every stage of my life, like every Easter, oh my God. Please, when you dox me, I have so guess what's going to happen? I'm gonna get bigger. I promise you I am. And it's not even gonna be on purpose. It's not even gonna be on purpose because now I get to tell y'all what really I get to show y'all things just off the rip of my pictures growing up. That could be a whole channel. What you mean? And guess what? Somehow this motherfucker, no, I'm not lying. It's a goddamn shoe. That's why they was like, ooh, look at this. Family a normal. Yeah. She did grow up sheltered like you, Diva. I don't believe it. I don't believe that Don Cato or MU, whichever one is running the goddamn channel. Okay? You just trying to get some pussy. All right, Juicy. Now, fuck out of here because you claim that you 30-something years old, but every time I turn around, you know everything that a 54-year-old, 55-year-old man be talking about. How the fuck you know what Beasley be talking about? Beasley be talking that shit. Huh? Beasley be talking that shit. Yo, Beasley a whole G out this motherfucker in California. That's scary because even when I look, it's too big. The trees is too tall. The cars are too low. Like everybody in California just look grimy as shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think they be like crip walking and blood walking to this goddamn store and shit like that. It's scary. Right. So these niggas is whole G's out this motherfucker. Juicy always know what they told me. Ain't no way, nigga. You 32 years old and you know everything. Even Busy could be talking and forget, like, oh, what was the name of that song? And it could be an old G motherfucker. Like back in the speakeasy days when his grandfather was drinking corn like a when they playing the banjo and shit. And then your motherfucking ass to come out, oh, that's Henry Maple. Like, how the fuck you know that? And you 32. Miss me with the dumb shit, okay? There ain't nobody but you, Don Cato, with that long ass chin hair. Stop playing with me. There ain't nobody but you with that long ass chin hair. Now, it's been a long time since you donated, nigga. Okay? Let me get $10. But there ain't nobody but Don Cato, long chin hair having ass. Cause you look like an OG that be ain't you from California too, right? You from over there. Anything you ask, if you mention in the chat, he in the chat, no matter what the time, the year, nothing. You could tell all that motherfucker do is sit down and read or old as hell and used to be in the street. All you do is braid that chin and be reading and stuff. My family played a lot of music growing up. Bullshit. You ain't listen, you don't have the mind of a 32-year-old. Okay. All right. You ain't you see that's why, and now I see why, just like Pinocchio, his nose grew that chin hair. That's why it's long like that for all them lies. Okay. Now you're not trolling me. All right. So I don't care what you say about her being sheltered. She wasn't sheltered enough. Wasn't she trafficked? Huh? Now answer that. She did grow up sheltered. Let me tell you something. If she was trafficked as a child, right? That's her story. Huh? And she's sticking to it. She got trafficked in church. Listen, you know what sheltered is? See, You don't, Juicy, you don't understand. You don't understand shelter. I wasn't allowed to spend a night. I still don't know what it is to this day to have a slumber party. What? What's that? I've never had a slumber party. Do you know, as a grown adult, let me tell you how pathetic I am. When I got grown, when I finally was too drunk to drive and had to stay in my girlfriend's, dorm or something like that, in her room or whatever, that was like my first sleepover. That's how pathetic I am. So nobody who has a story of being child trafficked was sheltered. Okay. Like I said, sheltered kids know other sheltered kids, just like crack babies know crack babies. Just like it's all the same. It's all the same. But it's sheltered kids. It's like we could tell. Nah. When do I got time to be snatched? Huh? You know why? Hell no. I get dropped off at school. Soon school's out, car out there waiting for me. I gotta go to piano lesson. I get dropped off there. I'm telling you about a point, go to piano lesson, do an hour at piano lesson, leave piano lesson, it's a car out there. Get driven home. I have to make sure I'm doing, guess what? My homework. Right. After you do homework, you're in private school. So it's not no, I don't have homework. And it's not no sitting down for an hour to do it. It ain't none, I did it all in the car. No, you have to study, because guess what? Your report card has to reflect that you're doing what you're supposed to do, even if they're not there. Your report card should reflect that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And Catholic is when Christian and Catholic school, I don't know how it's ran now, but back then it used to be like B1, B2 for 2, 3 for behavior. Motherfucker teachers was writing letters home. Okay, smiley faces. You had an all right day. No, that's elementary. I was monitored the whole fucking time. What? Let me cut class. I cut class one time. One time I cut class. When I got a call home that I didn't show up in a fucking class and asked me where the fuck I went, my greedy ass went to the store to get a hoagie for lunch, because of course you could bring your lunch to snack. We snuck out to go get some goddamn a goddamn hoagie for fucking lunch. That's all I did. My fat ass wanted extra pickles and mayo and shit like that. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted. What you think happened? Now, I am precious cargo, but the way how to get me, shut everything down. You ever been in a room, no radio, no TV, all you have is books? Okay. Can't go outside. And it didn't matter anyway, because after I did my homework, it wasn't, I look outside the street, all right, Ma, then can I go outside go outside where? Or you can sit on the steps for like 5 minutes. Then go upstairs, get your bath. It's time to get in the bed. Okay? I had to be in the bed by 8 o'clock. When do I got time to get child trafficked? Remember, I had to sneak and watch TV. I didn't watch Martin until I got what? Martin. Remember, Fox used to come on every Thursday. Martin, Living Single. And then at one point, I believe 9 o'clock, it was in Living Color. You can do what you want to do in Living Color. Y'all probably won't believe this. May God strike me down if I'm lying. One time, I was sitting at the dinner table. And while I'm sitting at the table, I started to, clean off the table, do what you still have to clean up and stuff like that. I don't know how this song got in my mind. It was from a commercial. Back in the day, Billy D. Williams used to do, remember he used to do beer, Coke 45? All I know is I was in the kitchen. I was like, Coke 45. Whoa, whoa. 45. Whoa, whoa. Do y'all remember that? Oh, I was like, what you singing? And I said, oh, a commercial. She said, I know you're not singing. What is it? I said, oh, my siblings. Oh, you know, they had a ball. I was always getting laughed at. Oh, she said, what? It was another song I got in trouble for singing, but I'll think of it. I'll probably think of it once I get over. Code 45. Woo! What happened? Punishment. Locked down. That's what my siblings used to say. Locked down. Right. In my room, reading books. Now I love to read, but I had to make myself like it. Hello with, yeah. Code 45. Whoa, whoa. And it was another song, but I forgot. I wasn't allowed to watch any of that stuff. Okay. So I know a sheltered child when I see it. And I don't have no stories about being, I've never, my nephew, my uncles never touched me. I wasn't allowed to sit on men's lap. Okay. Not even my father's. How about that? I wasn't allowed to sit on no men's laps. My mom wasn't having it. Ladies don't sit on men's lap until you get grown and get married, and you could be able to, and then she told me when I get married that you could sit on your husband's lap all day long and make sure you stay there for somebody else sit there. Okay, that's the kind of house what scares me. You want to spend it out with who house? Who having a summer party? Who having a skating party? Who doing what? Okay, I tell you what, get your homework done, and then I think about it. I'm sitting there doing my homework. About 2 hours later, done. I'm done my homework. Mom, can I go? Can I go listen to it? I thought about it, and I don't think that that's the right thing that's going. Y'all think I'm funny? Yeah, dox me. Okay? And please understand, you're not, y'all are reaching several dead ends on for a reason. But don't get it fucked up. It's not no real kiki at all. Okay? Because then you'll find out how I grew up, and how I would love to share my pictures from the day I was born. Okay? All right? And the motherfucker that know me know goddamn well I'm telling the motherfucking truth. Can none of you motherfuckers at 6 years old show yourself in no motherfucking fur? Not one of you. Not one of you. Okay? Well, probably Bruja, because she grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth too. Okay? Don't get it fucked up. I said on many laps getting spankings. Not me. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're gonna touch base on the interrogation. It was good talking to you guys and all of that good stuff. I'm gonna edit this out whenever I feel like it. All right, bye guys.